right, hello. Welcome to Adventures in Lollygagging. We are back for more Regency Cthulhu tonight. It's a new setting for Call of Cthulhu, set in the Regency era, Jane Austen-y, where yearning and Cthulhu come together. I think it was last night in a different game. I think Bert called it. It was a gentler, kinder Cthulhu. Maybe, I don't know. I think. Cthulhu with a high etiquette skill or something like that. We'll see. But yeah, we are back for part 2 of 2. So we're going to finish tonight, one way or the other. I do have a nuclear option if I have to. So we'll see. We'll see if we get there. But for those of you who are reaching out to us over the past couple of days, we are running a kind of modified version of one of the scenarios that it's in the main book for Regency Cthulhu. I've changed a little bit of timeline, added a few little tweaks here and there, but mostly it's the same. So if you've read any of the Long Corridor, you kind of know what we're playing, but no spoilers or anything like that in the chat, as the players haven't read it, except for Steven and Melissa and Ashley, because they all cheat. However, those that are in the middle of the screen, I trust you. But the rest, I mean, it's true. There's Nightbot commands for both Melissa's and Steven's cheating. I don't know why I threw Ashley in there. I think that was just friendly fire.
Collateral damage.
Just taking Gilly out while I was at it. All right. So, yeah, we're going to continue this. We're going to finish it up. We're going to see if we can get a few answers tonight. Last time we spent a lot of time at the winter ball. This time we're going to be doing more than that, as the ball has ended at the end of last session. So we're going to be kind of branching out, doing a few other things, and seeing where we go from there. Why don't we do a little introduction of characters, and then we will get started. So, Long, tell us about Mr. James Bennett.
Yes, I'm James Bennett, a gentleman poet, and I pretty much make poems and study literature. About everything.
I love how you keep saying "make poems" and make the poetry.
His poetry is better than his intro.
I love it. I love how it's not write poetry; it's make poetry. God, I love that so much. Oh, okay. And you did, in fact, make the poetry last time, and that definitely.
It sounds like an innuendo.
Yeah.
And you made a.
He made the poetry. With one Susan Potterton. Those are all statements. Oh my! That's like the title of our of the campaign we run next year. It's going to be rhyming couplets. There we go. Everyone has to play a poet, and it's all about seeing who gets to be married by the end. Okay.
Fantastic.
So, Mr. James Bennett, thank you very much. Next up, we have Miss Jane Radcliffe. Melissa, tell us about Jane.
Yes, so Jane Radcliffe makes crimes, I would say. She's the con artist. She's currently staying with the family. She stays places and kind of mooches off of them as much as she can, and then moves on to the next thing. She already potentially got an invitation for house under renovation to be able to go see that when it's done, and that is her con. She's always looking for the next mark.
Indeed, and I think it was the Haverings, I believe, is the name of the friendly old man. Havering, excuse me. You spoke with Mr. Nathaniel Havering of the Stornley House, which is specifically where he's from. He's in his 50s, kind of an old family of tradesmen who kind of married into to the gentry, Miss Susanna Havering, and no children, but they're known to be wonderful hosts, and and they don't host all that frequently, but they do. Excellent. Next up, we get to meet the Wentworth sisters, starting with Georgiana. Ashley, tell us about Georgiana.
Georgiana is the eldest Wentworth sister. She's 20 years old, and she was kind of at the point where this is going to be like her last social outing, because she's very intelligent and awkward, and that just tends to put off men. They don't know what to do with her. But she met someone, dare I say, just as awkward and forward, in a Mr. Slushington, and they danced twice, and it was very risque.
Wow. 2 times in a row.
Two times.
Did you forget his first name?
Do I have it?
You forgot your future husband's first name?
Isn't it
Georgiana.
Ashton.
Yes, Ashton.
I'm feeling
I
kind of slighted myself here because we had a moment.
Oh, yeah. So
clearly it's stuck in her memory.
my little sister Emma really she's like, I can't get married till my sister gets married. So she sees Captain Stone and she's like, him, that's the guy, we're gonna go for it. And Georgiana was not having it, and she's like, no thanks, I just want to eat some cake and like maybe read a book. And she's like, no, we're at a dance, you better dance. So she gets Captain John Stone and I into a dance, and it's very awkward, and we both agree to part ways as to other sides of the ball.
Was that the moment you had in mind?
Wow.
I felt like it was more impactful on my side.
Wow. Okay.
Apparently.
Mm-hmm. Mr. Stone, Captain Stone thinks quite a lot of himself.
We did bond over a poison book, but Ashton and I did as well.
Ashton, who is cast by we're casting as a young Hugh Grant, so that's who you're looking at, but with sleepier eyes. But maybe there's hope for that. We'll see. So let's move then to your younger sister, Miss Emma Wentworth.
Emma is the younger Wentworth sister it was vivacious and has a lust for life, much to her parents' chagrin. And after years of being unfavorably compared to Georgiana, she has concluded that enough of this ladylike nonsense. It's time to get Georgiana out the door so I can start courting handsome young men who absolutely want to come calling but cannot. And this is what Emma is convinced of. So that's why Emma's been trying to hook Georgiana up with anything with a pulse.
Anything with a pulse. You feeling good about yourself, Captain Stone? Anything with a pulse?
Wow.
She said handsome and young, so I don't know how much I qualify yet.
DQ right there.
But last time she did meet the dour Captain Stone, who she is now very annoyed by, and so annoyed that she can't stop thinking about his brooding eyes.
That's one of my traits, is brooding. I'm glad I got that.
We just slipped into Pride and Prejudice here, I think. Oh my goodness. Oh, huge age gap.
Just had a little heart flutter.
I did.
Put my story
Mr.
on the
Darcy,
back
are you
burner.
kidding?
I want to see this.
Oh my goodness.
No, I know Ashley loves and enemies to lovers. So let's see if
give me the slow burn, Emma. I want to watch this bloom.
Amazing. Let's get you and Slushington hooked up first.
Got to get you hitched fast so that slow burn can happen.
And now to the last person Emma Wentworth could ever be prevailed upon to marry, Captain John Stone.
Captain John Stone. I am obviously in His Majesty's Army. I am currently convalescing back at home due to an injury I sustained during the Battle of Vittoria. I'm considering retiring from the Army. Napoleon has yet to be defeated. I still feel compelled to go back and finish the fight, but the Army's taken the best years from me. I gave them willingly, but maybe it's time for me to give up the fight and settle down if the right girl comes along.
Fantastic. I did just share with you all a document on Foundry showing you the artwork for each of the characters of note that you met during the ball. So you can see some of them. There's a lot of good artwork, actually, in the Regency Cthulhu. It's very good. Okay. So, a couple things before we get started. Quick announcement. Later this evening, not now, but later this evening, we have a giveaway from our good friends at Norse Foundry. We've been giving away dice sets all throughout the holiday season here. and we are giving away another one tonight at probably around the midway point or so, in about an hour, I would say. But we are giving away a set of polyhedral dice. We got our normal set, Drow Black, very elegant, formal affair. I figured it made sense. Black and white, very simple, beautiful. And in addition to the actual set, you also get one of these giant boulders. So if you run into any like Shoggoths or something like that, and you got to smash something, well, you got a weapon for it. It's right there. It's good to go. But we'll do the usual giveaway about an hour or so, halfway through, give or take. And we have 2 more after this. The next one after this, the next giveaway we'll be doing is going to be Monday with our Holler crew. And then one more that we haven't actually decided when the next one's going to be yet. We're still figuring that one out. But keep an eye out for that. What we'll do now is let's get your luck back, and then we'll go into summary. So it's the start of a session. You all spent some luck. We're using the optional spending of luck rule in the game. You all get to go ahead and regain some luck. First thing you all need to do is just roll a luck test. So take a look at your current luck score, roll a D100, see if you pass, equal to or under, or if you get over. Just let me know what you do, and I'll tell you how much luck you get back.
I rolled over.
Okay.
I also rolled over.
Okay.
What if we didn't spend any luck?
You can still do it. You can still gain luck back.
Okay.
The maximum luck is 99.
Sorry, so are we rolling under the original look we had last time,
Your
or what
current.
we ended with?
Which you end up with.
Current.
Yeah.
Got it. Thank
Mhm.
you.
I also rolled over.
Okay. I got 3 overs.
I rolled under.
All right. Got an
Or-
under.
What is a half or whatever?
Sorry.
I don't need to know degrees. It's just normal,
Okay.
pass fail.
It was 89. I needed a 64.
Thank you.
I rolled under.
Okay. All right. So for those of you who rolled under, which are the Wentworth sisters, the 2 of you roll a D10 plus 5, and you can add that to your current luck score. The rest of you who failed, who went over, you can roll 2D10 plus 10 and add that to your luck score.
Amazing.
One of the situations where actually failing the luck roll, you get more luck back. So it's kind of fun.
Can you go over the cap or no?
No, 99 is the cap.
Okay.
James, spend some
You're-
damn
you're
luck
at-
next time.
You're at risk of going over 99?
Soon.
Oh my gosh.
He doesn't just make poetry; he
I
makes
was-
his own luck.
I'm sitting at
Long will
31
hoard
after the
hope.
last ep.
In luck.
Long just doesn't
That's it.
fail the roll, so he doesn't have to spend the luck. It's simple. It's easy.
Mm.
Okay, so everyone got everyone have your luck settled in. Okay, so quick summary: we began first session at the Winter Ball at Northlake Manor, which is home of the prestigious Northlake family, in and around Hereford. Heavier snows and worse weather is looming, so this is basically the last major social event for spring. All of you were in attendance. Both Georgiana and James, both of you had success in finding what appear to be potential suitable pairings. Ashton Slushington, as we mentioned, for Georgiana. Susan Potterton for Mr. James Bennett. The rest of you didn't have as much luck. Stone, you had a little bit of you were kind of a local celebrity somewhat. People recognized you because of your military experience and such. But you also had a bit of a small faux pas with at one point in the evening when you were seen to be a little bit overly friendly with a few young ladies as you were wandering back towards the drinking table.
I thought I said that my expression was that I had no part in this.
I'm sorry.
I was very clear with that.
That's just not what the fiction said. So, James, you also had a negative run-in with Reverend Choke. Remember, there are 2 reverends. There's Reverend Jennings, the younger man, African-American man. Well, it wouldn't be African-American, it's British, so it'd just be a black man here. I'm not sure if there's a specific name. And we got Reverend Choke, who is an older man. Mr. Richard Asher as well is another one of the ones you ran in with. So Reverend Choke and Mr. Asher kind of caught you as you were hanging around the Northlake Library. You were there was the Northlake Bible, if you recall, which sort of tracks like the history of the family, sort of like a common thing at the time. And then you also were kind of looking at this very curious gem that you found in this like kind of display case. Towards the end of the evening, the group all eventually circled around Miss Elizabeth Northlake and her friends, who had discovered a most curious thing. Despite there being no mathematical or architectural reasoning for this, one of 2 parallel corridors that throughout, as far as she could remember, were exactly the same length, for some reason, One of them was measuring 3 feet longer than the other. This sort of got Captain Stone a little obsessed with this. He even pulled out his rapier at one point and started measuring with that, which we all know. When you're at a party, you don't pull your rapier out there, Commander John Stone. What's wrong with you? It's very, very bad.
Excuse me, cavalry saber, much thicker than a rapier.
Oh, I beg your pardon. And then the ball ended. All of you got one last curious look, but other than I think it was Jane was the only one who didn't see this. Everybody else did. You saw in the wall that actually separated to two corridors, like the shared wall that separated those two parallel corridors, it appeared as if an opening of some kind was sort of growing, but it was only viewed at a very specific angle, which was one of the reasons why Jane could see it. And it was almost like these thin Venetian-like blinds, these little slats. You can actually almost faintly see through it to this other side, which just appeared kind of this dark and desolate place, not the servants' corridor, which it should have conceivably looked into if there was going to be a hole opening up on the shared wall. But quickly you all were kind of rushed out, pushed away, etc., and you lost the angle, all that kind of stuff. Some other things, when you were investigating, you did find the evidence of those like lock bolts. Like there were once lock bolts at the end of one of the corridors where it met the parlor, which sort of suggested that the corridor itself might have once led outside rather than into the parlor. So maybe the parlor was like an addition or a remodel or something like that. And I think, James, more specifically, when you were looking at that Northlake jewel, there were a bunch of different stones. It was arranged in a style that was very inconsistent with modern day. It's definitely centuries old in terms of its style. And you did see a label on the back of the brooch that said it was made in the 12th to the 13th century or so, and it had an inscription, "Osbert Nordlack made me as I made him." I think you're intelligent enough to piece together that Nordlack is just like a precursor, an earlier version of the name Northlake. So I think that's it in terms of our summary. So let us go ahead and begin. We're going to begin first with everybody but Jane. All of you, one way or the other, made your way back to your homes. Whether you took your horse or whether you took a carriage, whether you were by yourself or with others, all of you made it home just fine. Light snow was falling, but nothing too terrible. And you all made it home. Some of you hearts aflutter, others eager perhaps to finally get out from underneath the shadow of your older sibling. Others perhaps regretting some choices, who knows. But you make it home, get to bed, and each one of you throughout the night at some point have dreams. Georgiana, it's a little bit of Ashton, like the dancing a bit that you're having on the ballroom floor. James, perhaps you have images of Susanna Potterton in your head, thinking through the verses of the poetry that you provided her, that you made her. And then maybe the gems and the jewels kind of dancing in your head here and there. Captain John Stone, I don't know, what would Captain Stone be dreaming about after that?
I think it would be like the repetitive counting, like the stressful sleep where you just can't stop counting in your head despite you're not actually counting anything anymore. Mm-hmm. I'm still counting the hallway.
Mm-hmm. And Emma, what would Emma be dreaming about, we think? What would go through her mind?
I think she's dreaming about her new friends and Jane, who complimented her dress, and Mr. Bennett, who is that poet everyone is talking about, and Georgiana said that she met some handsome man, so she's dancing with some faceless suitor in my dream, and I have a flash of irritation as I see Captain Stone. But dreaming about all my new friends.
I love the flash of irritation. Yeah, that's how I respond when I see somebody. So all of you are having these dreams, mixtures of positive things and negative things, and at some point or the other, your dreams are sort of interrupted as that moment in the long corridor kind of plays back, and it plays back for different reasons. The camera zooms in on a specific person, or you zoom in on like the strangeness of that the lines, the Venetian lines, and all of you. Those of you who saw through those Venetian blinds, all of you weren't thinking too much about it at the time, probably because you're getting rushed out. But you start reliving it, replaying it back in your mind, and as it keeps opening up and opening up and opening up, and you see these little blinds just sort of open up, and that wall stops being your normal interior, beautiful, high-end gentry wall, and instead it gives you this vision into this very dark and desolate landscape. And you can't help but like break, like just whip up in the middle of the night, like in a cold sweat as the experience kind of goes through. Something about that, like this sort of bad vibes. All of you go ahead and roll a sand test. Let's see how much it troubles you. So sanity equal to or under is what you're looking for.
I pass.
Pass.
Okay.
Pass.
Okay.
I failed. Can you spend luck on sanity?
I think sanity, no. I think that's one of the ones you can't.
That's what we found out last week. I tried to.
Right.
Yeah, you can't spend it on luck, sanity, damage, or sanity loss. Okay. Most of you are able to sort of just remind yourself that it's a dream, that it's just a trick of architecture. There's something strange. There's an explanation. You didn't come up with the explanation. You don't have it, but an explanation nonetheless exists. But Emma, there's something about the moment, something about like your experience, something about that just sort of is haunting and like kind of nagging at the back of your brain. Go ahead and take 1 point of sanity loss. It's nothing major, but maybe you have trouble sleeping for the rest of the night. Maybe it's like it's much more difficult for you to fall back in bed and roll back over and sort of finish the night off. But each one of you, one degree or another, you have this sort of glimpse, this like your subconscious, like your just kind of focuses on this moment, this strange corridor that as you're watching it in your dreams just seems to grow longer and longer and longer. The Venetian blinds get wider and wider until it almost feels like there is a much larger portal, and then morning eventually will come. Jane, however, you go to sleep. You're in the guest room of the Northlake Manor. Jane, roll a listen test.
Okay. Oh, goodness. I got nada. Let's see. That is a 35 over 20.
You want to spend luck?
Yes, because I feel this would be interesting for me to pass.
Okay.
So I need to spend 15 luck to pass. So, okay.
Okay. So you don't get that far in your dream. You're kind of going through, you're kind of reliving some of the ball, some of the things you might be able to steal, people you can con, all that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
While you're dreaming, you see like a branch against the exterior of like a window pane, right? And you can just see the branch is like scraping against it and scraping against it and scraping against it. And then you realize as you slowly wake up that it's not this branch in the window, but you do in fact hear this sort of scraping, scratching sound outside your door.
Okay. Jane is going to grab, I would assume that she has some sort of a kind of a housecoat kind of a thing
Sure.
that she's going to, kind of take off the night post and, kind of wrap around herself. And she's going to look around in the room for something that could be used to bludgeon something if needed.
Sure. You're looking for an improvised weapon. Sure. No problem.
Yeah.
You can pick up a bookend or something like that easily enough.
So she's got that in one hand as she kind of opens the door with the other.
You open the door, and it is dark. It is still early morning AM hours, 3:00 in the morning type of thing. And it is exceedingly dark in the house. to the point where you can't really see too well. But if you would like, you can roll a spot hidden test. You can roll it with a penalty die.
Okay. Rolling with a penalty die means it's a 60 over 50.
Okay.
Oh no, both of them were a 60 over 50. Well,
Okay. So you don't really get a good, like, your eyes start to adjust. You can see the railing of the balcony. You can see some of the other doors in the hallway, etc. And you're slowly moving and moving. You feel, as your hands are against the wall, you feel something in the wood paneling outside of your door. It doesn't feel smooth. You can kind of feel what seems like a scrape, which you don't recall it being there last night. But as you kind of reach down with your fingers and you're trying to get a little bit lower to get a better look at it, you suddenly hear a loud screech. You hear the sound of a woman somewhere downstairs just call out, "Ah!" What would you like to do?
I'm going to keep this. I'm going to get a kind of a tighter grip on this bookend that I have in my hand, and I'm going to make my way to the balcony and see if I see anything. Assuming I don't, I'm going to go down the stairs.
Okay, so you get to the balcony. You kind of look down, and really from where you're standing, you would kind of be looking at the sort of the ballroom floor. Just really nothing there. But you do hear the sound suddenly of something smashing. And as you look out the window to the north side of the balcony, you can see this dark, hulking shape burst out from the manor and start running and trudging across the kind of lightly white snow on the lawn and kind of disappear into like this sort of foggy, misty darkness.
Sorry, I'm giggling at chat. She woke up the cat from their nap.
Sorry, Joe. My bad.
I am going. Okay, goodness. Okay, so I'm coming out of the guest bedroom over here.
You heard the screaming from below. You don't see anything other than like looking out the window and see something burst from the house and run off into the fog,
Yeah.
the mist, the
I'm going to go
darkness,
down the
etc.
stairs and see if I can see the screaming.
As you run down, you see kind of at the base of the stairs, you see one of the housemaids, a younger housemaid by the name of Martha. You can see that she's laying kind of in a heap in the last couple stairs. It looks like she she has spilled some looks like sheets or something like that on the floor. You see that the door from the servants' quarters going outside, or the servants' corridor going outside, has been sort of like ripped off its hinges in some way. It's just sort of pushed out and it's kind of hanging limply from one of the hinges. There's splinters of wood here and there, and she's laying on the ground. You hear the sounds of footsteps above as you realize others are waking as well. Anything you want to do before the rest arrive?
I'm going to rush over to Martha and just say, what did you see?
So you kind of rush over, you get down to her. She is breathing. She's still alive. You see her turn her head and look up at you. Pale, fearful face. Hair kind of scraggly coming out of this kind of bonnet covering. Miss Radcliffe, it was terrible. And she looks past you up the stairs as you see someone coming down, and you can see her. It was a burglar. Yes, it was a burglar. And you see as Sir James, Mrs. Lydia, and some of the others, Miss Elizabeth and stuff, start coming down. The whole family showing up. Each one of them, similar to you, are carrying something. Sir James has his sword ready to go, and is like, "What is the meaning of this? What's happened here? Oh, Miss Jane, Martha, what?"
She said it was a burglar.
A burglar.
The back door seems to be ajar.
And you see, yes, tend to her, and he carefully steps around you, checks the door. Oh, goodness. Lydia, dear. Something. Oh. Everyone, check the valuables, check the library, check. Someone here. I knew we shouldn't have held that bowl. You see him just kind of start like mumbling, and they kind of have this little back and forth. Everything just seems like they're tired and, it's kind of stressed. But otherwise, you see him start to move around, kind of checking other things. Like, are you sure there's not anyone else here?
I thought I saw someone run out the back.
Yes. Understood. And he kind of motions over to like one of the servants. Please start venturing about. Look around. And he starts kind of organizing a search with some of the other servants that are waking up.
Jane would want to kind of take Martha and see if she can kind of get her away from the rest of the family, since she seemed to kind of hush up a little bit when they appeared.
Yeah, I don't think you're going to be able to separate her from the family at this point. As Miss Lydia is here, Miss Elizabeth here is here. You can see that they're all kind of getting around her. Some of them are like kind of like Miss Elizabeth, like Elizabeth runs and fetches like a decanter. She brings back a little like a cup of brandy, like to calm Martha's nerves and things like that. You see they kind of help her up, and they start moving away from like the stairs and finding a place for her to sit nearby, and kind of over in the parlor, and she just starts. I didn't see who it was. It was just a very large man, hulking figure. That's all. Roll a psychology test, actually.
Do I have? I do. Let's see. All right. Oh my goodness. That's a fail. That's a 93. Yeah. It's a 93 over 60.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, it did kind of strike you as odd, for sure, that like she sort of changed her tune, but you're probably smart enough to know, especially your status in life, like you don't want to be telling certain tales. It's not like they like mistrustful. It's just she doesn't want to necessarily. She's probably concerned more with something else. So, but that does seem like she's kind of holding something back. But why? You're not really sure. But over the course of the next hour, several of the servants start to kind of venture about, look around. Nothing's been stolen. Everything's here, and people throw out some theories that maybe there was somebody who came to the ball and kind of hung out during the kind of used the ball as a way to kind of lay low and try to steal on their way out, but nothing was stolen. And then at a certain point, Sir James kind of takes a look at the door. He's like, I'm going to have to get someone from town to come fix this in the morning. We don't want this open if there's a burglar around, and I'll contact a local constabulary to make sure that this is taken care of. This is absolutely unacceptable. Absolutely not. And so there's like definite vehemence to him. But over time, like everyone kind of starts to eventually calm down. A few of the servants, like, and Sir James kind of stay up for the rest of the night, kind of keeping an eye on things. They kind of jury rig away to keep the door closed, but otherwise it's a relatively simple night at that point. So it's a while before you're able to get Martha by herself.
Mm-hmm.
So roll a reassure test if you want.
Oh, man. So let's see. We had 9 boosts left over from last time.
Okay.
So.
And what were we doing? 10%? You boosted
Yeah.
10%? Okay, yeah, that's fine.
it. It's a 20, so I'm just trying to get it up to like a 30 just
Sure.
to see if I can do this. Oh, I rolled a 35.
Get luck. Spend luck.
Okay, I'll do that. All right, I got it.
So once everyone starts going kind of retreating to bed, maybe Miss Elizabeth hangs out with you a little bit, but everybody else starts to leave. Miss Lydia goes back to bed. Sarah Coombs, the kind of the great aunt, she kind of starts heading back as well. Dowager lady, the James's mother, kind of goes back to bed. Everyone starts kind of venturing back, but like Elizabeth, you kind of linger. You try to convince Martha to tell you, like, what did you really see? And it takes some doing, takes some coaxing, but eventually she says, oh, it was so terrible, Miss Jane. It was just a hulking shape. They were covered in furs, head to toe, as tall as a man, but taller, so much taller and large. You're going to think me mad, but large claws. They reflected in the candlelight. I could see them. I thought they were knives, but no. And then she starts getting really, really upset at that point.
Oh my, this just sounds like what a fright. You really do need to just take some time and just get off your feet and relax. This is just such an awful sight.
Miss Elizabeth speaks up. It's like, and we're going to give her a light day on work tomorrow. Yes, that's right. You're going to have a very light day tomorrow, Martha. A Sunday to yourself, of course. It's just here, drink some more brandy. And she kind of like pours an extra cup, and we kind of fade away at that point from that scene. And eventually all of you kind of go back to bed. All right. The rest of the night passes with no more craziness to transpire, either at the Northlake Manor or anywhere else. Eventually, all of you awake at your various hours. Sunday, day after the ball, you all are free to kind of do what you want. You wake up, there's no messages or anything left for you. It's still very early. So I asked you all to think about what would you be doing? We can do kind of like a little interlude, sort of describe your day. If you're unsure of like things that you could potentially be doing, it's a Sunday. Attending church is a fairly common thing. There's two different ones to concern yourself with. There's Reverend Jennings Church in Bungford, the Upper Terryford Church. There's Reverend Choke, who, Bennett, you kind of pissed off. That's St. Bridget's Church. There's the town, Terryford Town, that you can kind of go for some entertainment and shopping and things like that, even on a Sunday. But a few of the places will be closed down for a few hours in the morning. You can call on other people as well if there's anybody you want to just go around and visit. So does anyone have an idea of what your character might be doing as they kind of wake up and get their day started on this Sunday?
Yeah, in the early morning, James, I get the kettle running for some nice tea.
Do it yourself? Wow.
Or if I have servants, I'm not sure, but
you do. You're gentry,
okay.
man.
Bohemian
Everyone does
of you.
everything for you. Yeah. Doesn't just make poetry, he makes tea.
But in the early mornings, while everyone's going to church and getting that done, he spends most of his time in his humble study, just with all his leather-bound books and his papers just thrown around. He's having the images of Susan, the walls, and even that brooch just sort of all jumbled together. And he's not really getting lines written down. It's kind of a mess, but he's trying none the least.
Okay. Roll. How about this? Roll an intelligence test, if you like.
Okay. A 60. No, that's a 6 actually. Under 70.
Okay, that's an extreme success. Okay. So maybe it didn't dawn on you last night because you had a little too much wine and you were drunk on the beauty that was Miss Suzanne Potterton. But it occurs to you as you think about it this morning, and you think about that brooch and the gems and all that kind of stuff. Like you do recall, prior to your university years, back when you were living here regularly, that there was. Now that you think about it, the Northlakes, the family itself, there was this sort of rumor is probably overstating it. It was more of a unwritten, like everyone kind of knew that they got into, like their wealth was born not from like this great lineage of like gentrification, that they are relatively new in terms of like the area, like just the past like 200 years or so. But prior to that, they were, like hundreds of years prior, like that, they're said to have come from relatively lower class, middle class stock, and that there was talk that they made their money in the gem trade. It's not something that they're into anymore. Like they've moved on to more sort of more respectable businesses. But there was something a little curious about that. And because you had an extreme success, it is now that you start kind of playing it around in your head, the idea of like a sort of a lower class family how does a lower class family get into the gem trade? Like that in and of itself is sort of like a weird extra puzzle, because you're looking at this brooch that has this precursor name to the Northlake family that goes back to the 13th century or something like that, and sort of a curious little extra mystery to it. And so do you spend your entire morning with this?
Yeah, until it gets in the afternoon, he'll head out to like find a play that's going on.
Okay. I don't know if there's a playhouse in town, but you very much could go to Terryford for some entertainment. But yeah, you're not. There's no theaters there. There is, if you're looking for something of relative.
In that case, I'll head into town then.
Yeah, you can head into town. There's a few different places. There's like the Four Feathers, which is sort of a more upstanding pub of some kind, public house. And there's the Bantam House, which is sort of a more kind of lower class kind of public house where there's like boxing matches and things like that. There's a tea house as well, like a coffee shop. Those are some other places you could possibly attend. But it is noteworthy to know that you did not go to church. So I'm just going to put that down right here. That's
all right.
Okay.
Tea after tea sounds good.
Okay. Just constant teas. All right. What else would people be doing? Who else? Who has an idea of how their character might be spending their Sunday?
So Jane, I would say, has this small notebook that she has very well sort of hidden in all of her belongings. And this is where she is basically kind of downloading all of the social connection information that she got out of the ball last night. And so she's just making sure that everything is kind of committed to, kind of this notebook of like who's connected to who and who may have an event coming up, and just any dirt that she was able to gather.
Okay, very nice. So you would have the Haverings, knowing that they're like, that was probably the most interesting one, because there are some people like they have a very good reputation, but at the same time, some people question Mr. Nathaniel Haverings. He's very rough around the edges from a societal perspective, and he sometimes is a little more free with information than he probably should be. That kind of thing.
It's a great photo for him.
Yeah.
Little like portrait picture.
Yeah. No one says of anything poor of him. He's a very nice man, but he has a tendency to not necessarily play the game as well as others. And then other than that, if you want, roll an intelligence test, I suppose. See if there's anything else you might have gleaned.
Okay, so just a straight int.
Yeah, yeah, we're making these like these are like basically notes.
I did pass. That is a 60 under 70.
Okay, so other things you might have gleaned is that there is a bit of animosity between the Reverends and Terryford, and that Reverend Choke has been losing some of his flock to Reverend Jennings in the Upper Terryford Church. He is very much annoyed with this from what you were able to glean. Maybe you overheard some conversations at the ball, and so that in itself is kind of interesting, to the point where he thinks it's because he has the wrong clientele, because he's serving like middle class as opposed. So he's trying to court like richer folk. That's something else you might have picked up. But yeah, that's probably it, really.
Okay. If you would allow a flashback, I did a roll before we started for fast talk. Roll the 43 under 55. I was wondering if it might be possible that I talked my way into just eyeing someone's like brooch or necklace or bracelet or something, that I'd have a relative who just loves that style, and I would just they would adore it if I were able to bring this to them. I've been looking for a piece for them for so very long, as I have to live up to my con artist.
So you're trying to do what now? You're trying to convince someone to give you jewelry?
Yeah, so if somebody has like a ring or just something that they had that I'm trying to convince that I have a ill relative who would just have loved a piece like that.
So I don't think you would be able to get someone to just freely hand over jewelry to you, even with a successful fast talk roll.
You could do a sleight of hand. If
that would be better if you wanted to try to straight up steal it. Yeah.
All right. If I had rolled a 43, which would have worked for fast talk, and so I would need to spend some luck to make that work for sleight of hand.
That's fine.
So I'll creeping down on my luck.
Okay, so you would have, in terms of like the richer folk at the ball. I mean, honestly, the Potterton family is certainly well thought of, but for you, it was actually Miss Chandra Asher, who is wife to Mr. Richard Asher, who, she's a genteel Indian from Calcutta. And she is a bit on the snobbish side, and she absolutely loves fine clothes and elegant dinners and all that sorts of thing. And her husband is a very religious and man, and you were able to kind of keep Mrs. Asher's attention, sort of with compliments left and right, I would imagine. And at some point, kind of were able to slip something off, maybe the brooch
Maybe like a
itself,
bracelet or something, like kind of pretending to shake her hand and help her with something, and just.
I think you can do that. Yeah, I think that would make sense. Okay.
All right.
All right. What would the rest of you be doing on your Sunday?
The Captain John Stone, as a proper gentleman, would be going to church Sunday morning.
Okay, you have a choice then, sir. Would you be going to where most?
I would say St. Bridget's is where I used to go for most of my life, but as Reverend Jennings has been attracting the new flock, I would try out. I took a break. I was in the peninsula. I don't know if I mentioned that. Coming back, I would be just trying a new church and seeing what this new Reverend Jennings is about.
Okay. Reverend Jennings, man in his late 30s. His sermon is certainly less, shall we say, judgmental than Reverend Chokes, who has a tendency to be a little bit more kind of high and mighty, also very very down on people who are not of a certain economic and social status. Whereas Reverend Jennings seems to stick a little bit more directly to Scripture, talks often about the notion of forgiveness and charitable works and duty. There is certainly a somberness to his sermons, where most of the readings that he picks out seems to be dealing significantly with loss. And as you talk with some of the people in the pews and others that are in attendance, you hear that essentially him and his sister were kind of moved here, and his sister recently passed within about a year or so ago. And ever since then, he's kind of been struggling, or a few years back, I should say. He's kind of been struggling, been very dour. Many of his parishioners are constantly pushing him to go out into society to get to marry, and maybe that will cheer him up. And that is likely the reason why he was in attendance last night. But it doesn't seem as if he had much to say about it. Okay. We'll come back to you shortly.
Okay.
But how about the Wentworth sisters? What would they be doing?
Would we be going to church? I feel like we would be going to church.
Oh, definitely.
Okay.
But Emma's treating it more as a social occasion.
It very much is. Very much is. I mean, it's a place to score points. Certainly, if you don't go there, you're going to be noticed missing, Mr. James Bennett.
At least it's a little harder with there's two churches, because it's not like everybody goes to one. So maybe you could have just been at the other.
Everybody, this is not
There's
the type
gossip.
of. You don't go to both. You go to one or the other.
Well,
what
that's what I'm
Captain
saying.
Stone did is kind of strange.
It's hard to know. I mean, if you didn't see someone in one, they might have. been
War in the
someone.
peninsula changes a man.
The peninsula, you say?
So
Did I mention that?
So Emma and Georgiana, do you want to say you're at Upper Terraford as well with Reverend Jennings, the hipper of the two churches? Okay.
Oh yeah.
Well,
Georgiana, go ahead.
Not only do you see one Captain Stone sitting solemnly, dutifully, back upright, as if he is in proper military posture.
Straight as a board.
Straight as a board. A few people sitting next to him, slouching a little bit more, making the contrast even greater. But Georgiana, do you know who is sitting in the same row as John Stone, but on opposite ends? You see John Stone is kind of on the outer edge of the row, whereas on the inner edge, and there is some space in between, is one Mr. Ashton Slushington, who happens to be sitting there, very modest but attractive, lean church finest, and he's listening dutifully, giving the Reverend Jennings his full attention.
Can we have had a conversation on the way in?
Of course.
I just have a few things I'd love to.
Of course, please.
Say to Georgia. So on the way to church or in the morning, but either way, a private conversation where like parents aren't around and stuff. She'll say to Georgia, it's like, I heard about Ashton last night. And then she yawns, like visibly looking very tired.
And Georgiana's like the exact opposite. She woke up, she's perky, she's awake, she's ready for the day. And she's like, yes, he was very lovely.
I'm so happy for you, Georgie, especially after that terrible Captain Stone. Find someone that you connect with like that.
They're both handsome, but you know.
Okay. Do you think we can talk mother and father into throwing a picnic where we invite Ashton, Mr. Slushington, to as a proper lady would in the season, putting a proposal?
Perhaps after he calls on me, at least.
He's going to call on you.
Yes.
She's so excited. Okay, and I think that's just wanted to be excited about Ashton.
And Georgiana, she's like excited, but also she's very like embarrassed. Like, yeah.
And and then you see him here as well, and there is some space in that row, in a very sort of wonderfully representative, symbolic way. You have Captain Stone on one side of the row, and Mr. Ashton Slushington on the other side. Where would Georgiana sit, out of curiosity?
Oh, she'd sit next to Ashton.
Sit beside you, so that
and she'd drag Emma along with her, and Emma would get stuck sitting next to Captain Jon Snow.
Okay, Jon Snow.
So,
oops. Well, he doesn't.
I know nothing.
The war is coming.
So, Georgiana, as you sit down within, a respectable
distance.
Of course.
Yeah.
But you have to walk past him, and he is very gentlemanly. He stands up, and he looks at you, and you see he was, again, very dutiful. He was paying attention, but his face was just sort of impassive and everything. But then you show up, and as you push past, his face just lights up. You see red begin to flush his cheeks.
Georgiana's blushing as well.
Okay. He's, good morning, Miss Georgiana.
Good morning.
Commander Stone, you're very, you have a very good spot hidden, a very good awareness. You would be able to see the Wentworth sisters coming into your row, and you see young Georgiana. Well, not as young as Emma, but you see Georgiana Wentworth sitting down next to Mr. Slushington. The two of them have a small exchange. I think you're savvy enough to recognize the blushing going on in their faces as they sit down.
My posture gets even straighter, just looking like His Majesty's soldier.
Okay. So, I'm going to go back to Jane for a moment because Jane, you are with the Northlakes, and the Northlakes will be very much interested in keeping up appearances. So you'll see that Sir James will be spending much of the morning writing a letter to the constabulary, and he is kind of as the carriages are getting drawn, the family is going to church. Of course they are, and they also attend Upper Terryford. And so while Mrs. Lydia, the head of his wife, and Miss Elizabeth and yourself and Sarah Coombs and all of you attend church, he ventures off because he says, I need to find... He's like, I need to deliver this letter. I need to make sure that such an incident does not reoccur and that somebody is out there looking for this burglar. And I also need to hire, I'm going to see the Johnsons, see if I'm able to find a craftsman, make sure our door is fixed and that something like this does not occur again. Please give my best to the Reverend. My apologies as well. But this is also not the most uncommon thing in the world, as he is effectively like kind of magistrate in the area, and he kind of has certain duties to attend to. So he dips away, but the rest of you are, with the exception of James Bennett, who is in town at least, the rest of you are attending church. So all of you can go ahead if you would like. Can either roll like a charm or persuade to essentially just kind of just gossip, local gossip, chit chat as sort of the sermon breaks. People split off into groups. Some head home, some head to the tea house, some head to the Banham house. You know, people kind of split off and start going in different directions, but there's still this moment where everyone kind of talks afterwards. And James, you can actually do this too, I would say, as you're probably reaching town as well, and you have the opportunity to do that too.
37 under 40. Oh, sorry, James. I didn't mean to.
37 under 40 success. That's good.
Yeah, I was just going to say hard success.
Hard success.
Persuade.
Very nice. Okay.
Hard success for charm.
Okay. Very nice.
The captain's having a rough morning with lots of slights. I failed.
Is it slights?
Miserably.
Is it slights? Okay. And how did you do, Georgiana?
Are we just rolling anything?
Basically, it's just like if you're chatting with people afterwards, how are you doing so? So charm would mean like you're kind of, it's like your force of personality. Persuade, you're having like kind of more sort of reasoned conversations, a little elevated, that type of thing.
Ooh, I got a fifth or hard success on persuade.
A fifth is extreme. So if you got
extreme, sorry.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So as you all are talking, kind of getting some gossip here and there. A few of you here, a couple interesting things. We'll start with James Bennett. As you have this thing on your mind with the gem, you're kind of talking here and there with folks, grabbing some tea at the tea house, whatever it might be. But you've heard some, you're asking around perhaps, or just having various conversations. And it's not like you necessarily have to bring the Northlakes up. Everyone, the talk of the town was the winter ball. And so everyone is sort of, it's very easy to introduce that as a conversation point. But when kind of you bring up the brooch and you bring up the jewel and someone refers to it as like, oh, the Northlake jewel, of course. What a wonderful display piece. So many wonderful pieces that Sir James has in his library, and he's so giving. What an extraordinary family, if you think about it. I have heard they have been here for generations upon generations, and in the very same spot. Their homes has never quite left, even long before they reached the level they are now, at the gem trade days, and even beforehand, doing whatever it was that they were doing, and they've managed to hold the land even before, and he kind of like whoever you're talking to sort of gets all sort of like they're kind of gets all buttoned up, kind of lifts his shirt a little bit and sort of kind of talks with a not insignificant amount of kind of prestige. Even before Sir Terry actually founded Terryford, I believe the Northlakes were here. Yes. So that the brooch, indeed, family heirloom. From when I spoke with Sir James last, he mentioned he keeps it there as a memento, as a reminder of where his family came from. It's very nice of you to have seen it, to have observed such a thing. So you just kind of get into that whole kind of conversation here and there with various folks. Let's see. Georgiana and Emma, as you're kind of going around talking a bit, Georgiana, you hear from the good Ashton Slushington comes and speaks with you, and he says, Miss Georgiana, I had a most alarming report of theft at the winter ball. Yes, all of your things accounted for, your precious jewelry and your books.
Yeah,
everything safe.
Everything of mine is safe. What about yours?
No, yes, I have everything. But I heard Mrs. Chandra Asher she wore a very beautiful bracelet, diamond and some other gem. I'm afraid I don't know which, but unfortunately it was stolen from her at the winter ball. Can you believe such a thing?
That's terrible.
Yes, indeed. It's most extraordinary for someone.
Who would do such a thing?
I do not know. I am going to go over and speak with the constables immediately and see if there's anything I can do to lend assistance. I have much time for my leisure currently, away from my studies, of course. Perhaps I might lend aid.
That would be wonderful of you.
Yes, but if I could be so bold, might I call on you later this week?
Yes, please.
And so you see, like, he like kind of speaks way faster than he should. Like he's like trying to rumble through it, like he's working up the courage, but eventually he bursts it out. And when you say yes, he like kind of overjoys. But then he takes that moment to like kind of bid you adieu, and he kind of hustles out of the church. And you see,
and like they're both kind of awkward about it because before he finishes asking the question, she's like, "Yes, please."
So then, let's see, Emma Wentworth, you are also, we'll say. Yeah, you are also kind of going around talking. You hear a very horrific rumor, actually, as you're kind of talking. You rolled charm, right?
Persuade.
You rolled persuade. Okay.
37 out of 40.
So you're just having conversations and things with some various folks, and at some point you get into a conversation with the Reverend Jennings. Very, very nice man. Again, dour but very polite. He greets you, and he's very, very, very keen on talking to you. When you see kind of a young, probably late teens man come stumbling into the church, and I beg your pardon, there, Reverend, Madam. I've heard most disturbing news, Reverend. I thought I might share. With Mr. He's kind of looking around. I was looking for Sir James, Mr. Northlake. Perhaps you could find him for me, or you could direct me to where he might be. And you can see like Reverend, it's like he's kind of being like, "Oh no, you seem very upset. Go ahead and tell us what it is." And he's like, well, he looks over at you, Emma. He kind of hesitates. I'm not sure if this is the type of news I should share in such company. And like you can,
please don't worry about my sensibilities.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Apologies. I was over at the Cuthbertson farm, not an hour ago, and some of the animals, well, they were slaughtered, Rev. They were torn apart. Those poor little creatures, and there was damage to one of the bones, and now they sent me here to find Sir James and some of the constables, and I thought he'd be here at church and I could find him here, but he doesn't seem to be here, and now I'm not quite sure what I should do, Rev. So he's like kind of rambling a bit. He seems a little upset by it. Emma, roll spot hidden.
Spot hidden is, I don't have anything under there, but it says 25.
Sure.
I rolled a 27. I'm going to spend 3 points of luck to
Okay.
16.
you notice that he's not just in like this emotional state, but you look at his pants, and you can tell that not only has he like tracked in all sorts of like mud and snow, but you can see that there's like parts on his shirt sleeve and on his pants which look like blood stains. Like he was actively trying to he's kind of covered in little patches here and there of like fur and blood and stuff like that. He looks very disheveled. Like it's kind of a big deal that he just like burst into this church. He waited at least till after the service.
What is your name, young man?
Miss Owen Hughes, ma'am. I work for Mr. Cuthbertson over on his farm. I was helping with the animals, and they're gone. And he seems like really distraught at this point. Like, I'm not a doctor, and I didn't think the doc would want to come help Doc Parsons, but I tried, but there's not much you can do when all the guts and things are coming out. And the Reverend's like, now, enough of that.
Reverend, might we offer Mr. Hughes a place to collect himself in private?
Of course. Please, use my office. I will go ahead and fetch Sir James. I believe I heard that he was going to see the constabularies for different constables for a different reason. So I will fetch him.
And I will escort Mr. Hughes.
Thank you, Madam Wentworth. Thank you. And you see he kind of gives you like this lingering stare and of like great seriousness. Like there's like his face is just like this hardened look of like seriousness. To the point where it would rival Commander Stone's.
Before we kind of walk, is there context for Cuthbertson Farms? Like, do I know that being part of the city?
Yes, you would know that Cuthbertson Farm it's basically, Cuthbertson is just a tenant farmer. He works the land for the Northlakes, so it's nearby.
Got it.
Yeah.
Got it. But he works the land for the Northlakes.
For the Northlakes, yeah.
Okay. That's helpful and not at all ominous. Thank you.
Okay. And then let's see. Commander Stone, if you want to roll a listen test, we can see if maybe you overheard any of that.
Okay, we can try. I have a 20%.
Wow. That's horrific.
Did a 71 make it?
I mean, how much luck do you want to spend?
They're talking
Not 51.
They're talking about I don't know, you can't tell. You're like, what does it say? Like, what does he say? They're trying to read their lips, like tomato soup? No, that can't be right.
I'm too busy telling someone about the war in the peninsula, and I'm just like looking out of my side eye at Georgiana and Mr. Slushington. And I'm just like trying to keep talking about the peninsula, but I'm getting angrier and angrier.
So at long last, someone interrupts your growing anger, and it is Mrs. Lydia Northlake, so Miss Elizabeth's mother, and Sarah Coombs, who is like the aunt. So it's Sir James's older sister. And the two of them kind of come over to you, and they're like, "I beg your pardon, Captain Stone. I know you're here for the sermons, and I'm sure you're very busy. I was wondering if we might bend your ear for a moment."
Well, of course, Lady Northlake. Anything.
And she sort of gets you a little bit further away from some of the crowd. We had a most disturbing incident last night. After the ball, after all of you left, a burglar. Apparently, one of our maids was accosted by someone who was trying to rob our beloved home. Fortunately, no one is harmed.
How outrageous.
Indeed, we are most upset. Sir James this morning he was fire himself. And although he is, I love my husband significantly, and he's a very capable man in all things, business most of all, would it be too much, perhaps, for you to, with your extensive knowledge of military tactics and strategy, and she's like fumbling around.
Say no more. Think nothing of it. I would be more than happy to stop by, and I'll speak with Sir Northlake, and we will see what can be done.
I'm just concerned that perhaps our home is not as secure as he believes it to be, and with winter coming, we certainly don't want a repeat occurrence.
It is a shame what our country is coming to. All of the honorable men are overfighting on the peninsula, and God willing, they will return soon, and we might have a country full of gentlemen again.
Hear, sir. Hear. Okay. And then, let's see. I think is that everybody? I think everybody kind of got a little something, right? Okay. So thus far, you've heard a few rumors here and there about different things, but we'll say it's past midday. All of you have kind of been chatting around. You've spent some time amongst the locals in Terryford. You've heard a few rumors here and there, some kind of animal attack at the Cuthbertson farm, burglar at the Northlake Manor. Bennett, you've been kind of obsessed a little bit with this sort of like Northlake history thing going on. Is there anything all of you would want to be following up on here?
I definitely want to ask about the weirdness in the corridor, but I would specifically want to, I think, speak with Georgie better.
Mm-hmm. And I would also say
if she's talking to Mr. Soldier, it's like, no, later.
Yeah, so you see, when you look around, you see Georgiana's talking to Ashton, but you also notice that Miss Elizabeth and Miss Jane Ratcliffe are here, both of whom were with you with that as well, and so they're nearby as well.
If Mr. Hughes seems calmer, then I'll go speak with them.
Okay. Yeah, he kind of sits down in the Reverend's study, kind of pour him a glass of whatever it is that's in the decanter that the Reverend had, and he just kind of sits there and
mysterious brown liquid.
Of course, of course, it's really just well water. It's really great. But sure, yeah, you're able to detach yourself from him pretty easily.
Cool. I'll go over to Jane and Elizabeth. Thank you, Miss Banner. Sorry, what's Northlake? Thank you, Miss Northlake, first of all, for the wonderful soiree last night. It was delightful.
Oh, Miss Emma, I'm so grateful you were able to attend. And your sister Georgiana seems to have made a very wonderful potential match, you see.
Are you not excited for I certainly am. I'm trying to give them as much privacy and to lower her voice, like privacy as possible, and to gossip but avoid being heard gossiping.
Absolutely. So she's being, like, she's younger than you. I think she's 16 or so. But she's very excited. But you can see she's also, occasionally like kind of darting around the room, and you can hear her just kind of sigh. I thought perhaps Mr. George Potterton would be here. We had so much fun looking at the corridor last night.
That's actually one of the things I wanted to ask about. Have you made your way there today?
Well, she looks over at
same.
She looks over at Jane. Jane, you're in this conversation too, and she said, "Well, we had a bit of an incident. However, we also, after that, it's the strangest thing, Miss Emma. I measured it before we left. It's 3 paces longer than it was last night. It's even longer. Most peculiar. And I saw you're going to think me mad. But I could have sworn for just a moment that in one of the walls, it was as if a window was opening up. But it was an interior wall, and it should have gone to the servants' quarters. It was most extraordinary.
I saw a window last night as well. When they similar to stripes, and you were able to see through them.
Yes, you see, Jane, I told you I saw this.
I saw that as well.
I saw nothing of the sort, but you didn't tell me that the hallway got longer. That's just.
Well, you were talking to Martha so much. You're so curious about her, asking her all sorts of questions.
I don't think she wanted to upset your parents, but she actually told me that it was the individual that she saw was quite upsetting to her. She described it, and Jane kind of lowers her voice again, kind of the surroundings. She described it as taller than a man, covered in furs, with claws that reflected the candlelight.
Now who has been keeping secrets? You didn't tell me this.
Well, all of the, adults were around, and she clearly did not want to upset them by sharing that information, but we should.
There has been some kind of killing at the Cuthbertson farm.
Oh my goodness, who died?
All the animals, apparently. But if Martha saw somebody with claws, might they have been the same person? Surely Terraford doesn't have multiple people going around doing things they oughtn't.
I should hope not. I should hope not, indeed. But a furry claw monster? She's barely older than I am, and she has a very fanciful imagination. I am not sure if we should be running too far with her descriptions.
You both seem to believe that hallways are 3 feet longer than they are measured to be, and there are stripes in the wall that allow you to see other things. So I don't see how Miss Martha's description is any more fantastical than that.
That is a fair point, but I did personally observe the two things that you referenced, and neither of them involved a very large furry man with claws.
Well, perhaps all of this is connected, and we just need to find the pieces that make it all make sense.
Indeed.
Miss Northlake, I think what Jane is saying is what Miss Radcliffe is saying is, why must we believe one and not the other?
That is fair. Yes, Miss Emma, I think you are correct. There is no reason to make judgments yet.
Would it be appropriate to... And here she gets like this sort of mischievous look on her face. Like, do you think your parents would catch us if we snuck into the house and did servants' entrance and maybe just looked at the corridor once again? I wouldn't want to pay a formal visit because I don't want to trouble the servants or have tea laid out for us or anything.
Stop it.
So curious about that corridor.
I would be happy to host you again. Of course, it would be wonderful to see you so soon. We can, when we're done in town, you can return with us.
Wonderful.
And will Miss Georgiana be coming with us?
I need to ask her if perhaps Mr. Slushington has invited her elsewhere. She might not.
So we look over. Georgiana and Ashton, they part company. Ashton leaves, tending to other duties. Georgiana, you look over, you see Emma and Jane and Miss Elizabeth all in their little conversation. You see Commander Stone is in conversation with Miss Elizabeth's mother and an aunt.
Georgiana, you recognize the something is up the look on Emma's face. Like you've seen this look a lot. This is the I'm about to do some shit face.
But first, for politeness sake, she does go visit Miss Elizabeth's mother to thank her for the party, the ball yesterday, and her invite.
And you are now in the small grouping that includes Captain Stone. And so they turn to you. Oh, Miss Georgiana, you are very welcome. I see. And she kind of looks over towards the door closing. Ashton kind of leaving. You see him briefly, ever so slightly, like look back through like the closing door, and then kind of goes off. So you have made a friend. How delightful. And like,
Yes.
I quite enjoyed our dance last night.
And this catches like Georgie off guard, and she's like, I did as well. And at that point, she's just looking at Miss Northlake like, I wanted to thank you for your invite yesterday. I had a wonderful time.
You are quite welcome, my dear. We're a pleasure to have you and your sister, who seems to be getting along fabulously with my daughter. And she looks over, and you can see like they're kind of talking, like almost conspiratorially, like they're all kind of close and like whispering here, and they're keeping it low in the church because they're talking about things that they should, etc. Okay.
The slightest of exasperated looks flashes on his face when they mention Emma.
Oh no. And at that, like Georgiana's like, Emma is rambunctious. And speaking of which, I should probably check in on my sister.
Of course, my dear.
But thank you again.
And so they kind of nod and kind of go.
And she says her goodbyes, and then she like is a little flustered as she says goodbye to the captain, and then she goes to check on Emma.
Okay. Let's cut to James for a little bit, and then we'll do our giveaway. So, James, what have you been doing? Because this has all been going on basically during church, like the sermon and after, and you very noticeably were not there. But what have you been doing?
I think I would find a way to rumor monger this history of the Northlakes. Maybe look into that a bit more.
Okay. I mean, you've got basically everything that you would be able to get. Rumor. Let me see. What did I give you? You have learned that they haven't always been one of the most wealthiest. It's been a few hundred years at least, but hasn't always been so. You learn that they apparently got into the fortune, trading gemstones. How it's always been a mystery to folks about how such a lower class family was even able to get into the gem trade. They're not in the gem trade any longer. They've moved on. No one really thinks about it too much anymore. It's not like anyone is criticizing them or thinks poorly of them anymore. It's been years since they've been in it, and they're such a well thought of family that it never really bothers anybody. You would also know that they basically lived on that land for as far as anyone can remember, long before Terryford was even Terryford. In terms of so that's pretty much all you would get with local gossip. There are places you could potentially get more info. Like you would know that if you wanted more information on, well, there's basically 3 places you would go depending on the type of information you would want. Like if you're looking for something in town, like the parish records, you would know that there are some records in terms of like life and death and such, like births and deaths, like parish records, like they have their own. The Northlake family has its own vault. It's not strange at all. Otherwise, if you wanted more details, like more documented information, history, you would have to kind of dig into the family records, which they would have in their own library, probably in that Bible. Or if you wanted more information about the town or the home itself, it's also something that they would probably keep themselves. So you've kind of exhausted everything you can get just from pure rumor mongering.
Got it. Then if I can get more materialistic with the parish documents.
Okay. So we'll say, just to make this interesting, as you're walking over in the direction of the church, the Upper Terryford Church, you cross paths with the Reverend Jennings. He kind of sees you, and he kind of gives you a not rude, but a very, you can tell there's a tone to it. Mr. Bennett, I did not see you at service this morning.
Reverend, it seems I've forgotten. Time just got away with me.
You've forgotten the time. Well, service is the same time every Sunday. But you are a very busy man, I understand. But I see you're heading there now. People are lingering and talking. I've had some most troubling news. Is there something I can help you with?
I only wish to find some records.
Records? Of what kind?
About the Northlakes.
What about the Northlakes?
What's it, parish records? Something along the lines?
Right. So you would know that you would know just in general that the parish records, like, because it's a church, they would probably keep track. The only things that they would kind of keep track of for sure would be like births and deaths type of thing, or at least deaths, like who's interned at the church is essentially all he would like that. That's what they would have.
Then I'll mention such.
Okay. Okay. They all matter of public record. I am currently on an errand right now, as there has been an incident at the Cuthbertson farm. However, if you're interested, I can direct you to where, if you were curious to learn more about them. Are you? And you almost see, like, he almost kind of gets a little untoward. Are you courting me? Oh, I beg your pardon. As he kind of thinks perhaps that maybe you're trying to court Miss Elizabeth at that point. But then he kind of shakes his head and he's like, oh, well, you know where they are. And so kind of directs to you, like, where you would find the records within the church grounds. And so with that, James Bennett makes it over to the church. And now everyone is over by the Upper Terryford Church. And with that in mind, now that everyone is together at long last, let's go ahead and do our giveaway. And then we'll see if we can finish this thing, which is this is going to be so hard. Cool. The rest of you describe what you're doing while I shoot a message over to Meadowhorse.
I'm waiting to see, like, we cut back and we're just like someone is like half being eaten by something. I was actually going to say, if James made his way over to the rest of the group, Jane was going to kind of walk over to James. Not sure, you didn't see you at services this morning. I'm not sure if you've heard the scuttlebutt around, but there have been quite some goings on.
Picked up info here and there.
There was a intruder of sorts at the manor this morning, and the livestock have been disemboweled, I hear.
Yeah, I heard that.
That's the rumor.
I heard that from the Reverend.
I hear you're the creative, imaginative sort, and the tales that are being told about what's been seen and what's out in the woods. It might, if you're, I don't know about such creative things, but if you're looking for things to write about, this might be of interest to you. I hear that there are some invitations perhaps back to the manor for the afternoon.
Why'd you ask me to scribble in verse when my heart's full of trouble and sorrow? The cause I'll briefly rehearse. Everyone will be bloody dead, I loudly curse.
I see you don't you don't want for inspiration, apparently. But if that is the not generally the type of poetry that gets recited around the fireplace in the parlor, but this does seem quite up your interest, perhaps. Is that a yes, that you might join us this afternoon?
I shall join you.
Wonderful.
Okay, I'm back. All right. Thanks for the vamps. All right, so everyone's at the church. You all have some leads. James, you wanted to mess around in the public records before you left. Is that correct?
Yeah, let's take a look.
Okay. Do you want to do this by yourself? Do you want to invite anybody with you? But at this point, everyone else is probably getting ready to leave. It's up to you.
If anyone wishes to stay behind, but I'll catch up with them.
Okay. All right.
I think Jane has presented herself to be nosy, so if she just invited you and then you don't follow her, then she's gonna be like,
okay,
we were going in that direction. What are you? Oh,
I have civil business. If you wish to stay, I can catch up.
He's got to make some poetry.
With Jane?
Jane will.
What would Susan think? Oh my goodness.
Jane will sort of look back to the rest of the ladies and decide that it would probably be uncouth to follow. So, well, just come find us when you're done.
Okay. So we'll say the rest of you depart Stone, you've been specifically. Are you going back with Mrs. Lydia, and
Whatever would be the appropriate amount of time. Like if they wanted me to go immediately for her to feel better, I would. Otherwise, I'd wait a few hours and swing by. Whatever.
Okay. I mean, you tell me. I mean, if there's a preference, if there's something you wanted to do instead, you can always wait.
No, I don't mind going straight there. Just whatever would be the proper etiquette.
Okay, so we'll say the rest of you, other than James, all kind of go out and start getting into your carriages and things like that. Captain Stone, you do see like Georgiana and Emma and Jane and Miss Elizabeth are all kind of like, they have some sort of strange thing going on there that you're not quite privy to. And you're with like the older generation. You're having to you're hanging out with the married Miss Lydia, the widowed Lady Dowager, the widowed Sarah Koo. Like all of them are widows or married, and you're hanging out with
I don't know why you're laughing. This is my comfort zone.
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough.
Would it be inappropriate for Georgiana to
Of course not.
invite him to our carriage?
There are so many people around. Well, he has his own carriage, and there's probably only so much room. I think probably 4 people would fit. But it wouldn't be like it's in public. It's outside of a church. Everyone's around. Your parents are probably there too. We just don't really role play them. Like going up and just talking to a person isn't necessarily, especially since you know him already. Like if he was a stranger, that'd be weird. You would want somebody to make an introduction. But since you're aware of who he is and you've talked before, it's probably not that strange.
Okay. If there's not room, then we're just gonna meet up at the house.
Okay. All right. So everyone starts to leave, but Bennett, you linger back and you start perusing through the parish records, just kind of curious, digging more into the Northlake family. Okay, man. So go ahead and you're gonna have to make a library use roll.
Oh, what? No.
Library use. It's a skill.
I've never heard of that before. Okay.
It's a skill.
I've got a 50 in it.
Do you really? Well, that would make sense. You're a freaking poet. I would hope.
Me too. Twinsies.
Nice.
Oh, I thought you two were made for each other. You just never quite found the time. You just never quite 2 ships passing in the night.
We're all 5, so extreme success.
Oh my gosh.
Holy crap, dude. Okay. All right. So you start digging through these. It's basically like a library unto itself, like this records room, and it's quite literally various kind of parishioners, families, notable families within Terryford, right? And because of your significant skill in library use, it is not very difficult to very quickly find the records for the Northlake family. And again, most of what you're getting here is just sort of a family record of who people were, like who was here, who attended the church, but more specifically, who is interned here, as there is a Northlake family vault. And you kind of start kind of going through birth records, death records, etc. Now, because you have such a good role, I won't. Should I make you do an int test? I'm trying to decide if I should make you do a second test here. So you find, as you're searching through, maybe an hour or so as you're reading quickly, most of it seems pretty standard. You're seeing the families, the birth records, death records, deaths that seem relative to like kind of associate with like plague years, others with longevity. You see marriage records, etc. But there is something kind of curious that you note at one point. Something kind of catches your eye, and it's just a weird oddity. It might mean nothing, but it also, like, because you're curious, it's kind of interesting. You notice that there, every 100 years, very, very regular, the head of the Northlake family's eldest child has sadly died. And while children sadly die very frequently, especially in this era, the kind of regular intervals that you're seeing is really sort of suspicious in some ways. And you see that the first death was December. The first death that's documented, December 1413. It says Jacob Northlake, age 12. The next is Walter Northlake, December 1513, age 14. The next is Blanche Northlake, December 1613, age 6. And then there's William Northlake, December 1713, age 6 months. And again, because you had an extreme success, I'm just going to give you a few things for free. You also noticed that there's one other strange anomaly that kind of catches your attention, and it's William's father, Alistair Northlake, who is listed to have suffered an accident 5 years after the death of William, his son, in 1718, and that accident led to his own death. And you would know that this kind of entry is a very discreet way of describing suicide.
Is that 100 years coming up at all?
It is December 1813. That's where we're at right now.
Oh no.
Who's the current eldest of the family?
They have one child, Miss Elizabeth Northlake.
Mm. And my foundings, I will rush back to the manor with this news.
Okay. So we see James Bennett, hair flown in the wind as he's on the horse, kind of stirring it to action. We see the rumbling.
Pages of poetry flying out of his jacket.
He circles back, picks it up. I got to make more of this later. We hear the sound of like triumphant music. I don't know if I have any triumphant music. I don't think I have it. This is a waste of time. I was looking for some music that would work. I don't think I have any. Yes, he's just... Yeah, that's not triumphant. That's just like very tendering. Okay, so you start heading towards the manor. Okay. So the rest of you, you had already gotten into your carriages and you headed out. So where was everyone going, just to be sure? I know Stone is going back to the Northlake Manor. Where were the Wentworth sisters and Jane and Elizabeth going?
Same.
Northlake Manor. I
Okay,
think.
so everyone's just going back there. Okay.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
You all arrive before Bennett. You probably have an hour or two lead on him. As you all arrive, Captain Stone, you get out of the carriage, and once more you see the Wentworth sisters and Jane and Elizabeth and great, in closeness, kind of giggling and laughing as they're kind of running into the house at this point. And you are once more lingering back with the elder folk. What would everybody like to be doing here at the Northlake Manor?
So
I would go ahead.
Jane would like to kind of change out of church attire, and she would like to go out back and just see what there is to see in terms of the snow when kind of the footprints in the snow in the direction of the burglar from this morning.
Sure. It's been some time since then. Go ahead and roll a track test, but because you've waited till now, go ahead and add a penalty die to it.
It's already a 10%.
I figured.
So...
I just...
Oh, no, that's a 36.
You do find, that the area immediately around where the burst door was, it's been temporarily fixed or at least boarded up by some of the servants. You start wandering around looking for signs of tracks. There are some, but this isn't your forte. You're not necessarily a hunter of any kind, at least not of this kind. Hunter of valuable objects maybe, but not this. And you look around and you can see it just sort of travels off into the kind of like the northeast and then sort of disappears into kind of the undulating hills that extend outward from, the Northlake property.
Is northeast the general direction of the Cuthbertson farm?
You know what? I think because you just asked that question, I'll just give you the answer. Yes, in fact, it is.
Okay.
Okay. So Jane, you're looking. She wanders around out back. What is everybody else doing?
Georgiana, she's got her book that she's reading. She's reading the Brothers Grimm fairy tales. As she's just kind of like wandering back towards that hallway.
Okay.
And when she gets in, she still has her book open, but she's looking to see if she sees that kind of Venetian blind thing that she saw when they left.
Okay. Roll. Well, you succeeded last time too, right?
Yeah. It wasn't extraordinary, but it was the other one.
Okay. Roll. You know what? Since you already did it, don't worry about it. You maneuver yourself into a position where you do, in fact, see that once more in the middle of that hallway, as you're kind of looking at it from a very precise angle, you have to kind of shift your head in kind of an awkward shape. You look out and you can see that not only does it appear there, but where the blinds before were these very slender lines, they are much thicker now. Like they are much more like open, like with several like a couple feet in between each one of those. And more than that, it almost looks wider too. So it looks like whatever this is, whatever is sort of opening here, it's even larger. It's like the opening is even bigger. And more than that, the angle itself also seems much more forgiving as you're able to kind of shift and sort of still see it. You can even start to approach it from a specific angle, and you can kind of keep sight of it the whole time.
And she'll do that. She'll start to approach it.
And when you do, you can see through and out it. And you can see, similar to what you saw in the dream, similar to what you saw very briefly before, you look out and you see a very dark, lightless, desolate landscape. It looks nothing like the beauty of the countryside around Northlake Manor and around Terryford. You don't see any vegetation. You don't see any color. Everything's kind of gray or dark. Everything just seems like this barren rockscape. With one exception. You see a ways out, several hundred yards away, you would imagine, in the far distance, there is like the only thing that doesn't look naturally made. Like there's like one thing out there that almost looks like it was constructed. There is this kind of dark gray obelisk that you see kind of erected and up out of the like what looks like a kind of a relatively flat area. It's, you know, like I said, several hundred yards away, but still within sight. You can see it in a distance. But otherwise, it's just everything's just kind of this gray, like monochromatic look to it.
She's gonna take her book and she's gonna see if she can put it through the slats, like if it will actually go through the wall.
It very much does. You push it through. You kind of like kind of turn it ever so slightly. The book's small, so it's not hard. You just and it pushes through to the other side. And your hand even kind of goes in a little bit, couple of your fingers.
And then she pulls it back out to make sure everything's still okay afterwards.
You check it back out. Everything looks fine.
Emma?
George Maynard. Yes.
Is the captain there?
Is he there?
Yeah, because I presume you're like by the entrance.
Oh yeah,
though,
I'm like right. Yeah.
I think it would be fair to say that if Georgiana went off, the captain would feel like he's got to work on his game and he would start heading that direction already. So I'd be pretty close to Emma.
Okay.
Oh,
So
okay.
I guess when you call that, he's like right there.
Could you come see if you see what I'm seeing?
Well, of course. Absolutely. Do I see what she's seeing?
Both Captain Stone and Emma, if you're there as well, both of you see the same thing. It is.
Yeah, and she sticks the book in and she pulls it back out and then she points out the obelisk that she noticed. Isn't that peculiar?
Emma's gonna stick her finger in if it'll fit. It sounds like it might.
Your hand goes through it. It's a couple feet in between each of these slats. There's actually fairly slats. It's opening up. Like, conceivably, if you all could probably, if you wanted to try, kind of climb in. You'd have to climb and kind of contort yourselves, but like you're able.
See, in my head, I thought it was like Venetian blinds, like. Really
they're wider now.
But they're much wider now. So that's the thing that's what Emma and Stone would notice now that they are much, much wider now. And the width of this like portal or whatever it is even wider as well. So like the whole thing's getting bigger, and it's like kind of opening in this sort of weird sort of geometric way, as if it's like opening from the lines themselves, but also broadening at the same time as the corridor grows.
We must go through.
Ladies, we do not know how dangerous this is.
I'm sure you will be able to protect us, Captain Stone. And Emma starts climbing in.
Emma?
I would try to gently reach out without necessarily touching her, but like putting an arm out in front of her.
How dare you, sir?
Apologies. Perhaps I should go first.
Wow.
I suppose if you must.
I do have a sword out of character, just saying.
Oh.
It's got girth. All right, I will try to go in if they're okay with me doing it.
So it's one of two rolls. It's either a climb roll or a hard dex roll.
Hard would be going hard dex.
Okay,
that's better.
All right.
Does doubles matter?
No, not in this.
Okay, it's a failure anyways.
Okay. Do you want to spend luck to close the distance?
That would be a lot of luck. I rolled a 77. I needed a 35. I will not do that.
Oh man.
So that's 42 points of luck. You don't want to spend that?
No.
This is the last session.
I might need it later.
Okay. So
we are playing for 4 more hours.
So,
okay.
So
I try to get in, but like my sword gets caught right at the beginning, and I just start fumbling.
And as you do, you like kind of twist your arm. You kind of cut yourself a little bit, and you fall back into the hallway, and you take 1 point of damage in the process for doing so.
I don't know if I mentioned I was injured in the peninsula, and I'm not as limber as I used to be.
Is your injury okay?
Do you need a hand, Captain Stone?
No. I'll be fine. I'll be fine. I get up and I kind of like straighten my shirt and make sure that I'm still looking proper.
So you can push and try again if you like.
Or one of the
What
ladies
would
can go
pushing?
through and offer you their hand.
So pushing in Call of Cthulhu isn't like a re-roll. It's like literally trying again, like taking like a slightly different tact of some kind. But there's usually
What are the consequences?
They're greater. So you took 1 point of damage. You're a GM. You would know that likelihood of you failing on a pushed roll might be more damage.
Yep. Okay.
But you have all that.
Probably
luck
should have
to
read the
spend.
rules. Yeah, and I'm going for a 35.
Gotta
Okay,
break
let's
the
push it.
string of
Let's push it.
70s somehow.
Okay. And don't forget,
We
Melissa's got
do
some
have
of those
audience
boosts.
dice.
Got those
We do.
boosts if you want.
We've got 8 boosts left.
So you can,
Yeah,
you
let's use a boost. So I'm
Yeah.
going for 45.
It's basically a flip of the coin. It should be easy. So easy a caveman could do it.
Did you go from 70s to 90s?
I hope he
Is
rolls
that
a
how this works?
99.
No.
I rolled an 80.
It's still net positive, right? I think.
Oh God, do I want to spend
35.
35? It's cheaper than the 42. All right, let's do it.
Right.
I'm spending 35.
Okay. So because you succeeded, you won't take a bunch of damage. It is a little. It's not the cleanest of climbs, but you do make it through, and you fall down. Your feet hit the ground. This dark, kind of grayish ground. You can see all sorts of fissures and ruptures here and there, where this sort of portal opens up. And you look around, and you can see that this this sort of portal is in this singular outcropping or like edifice right in the middle of this massive expanse, and you look out in all directions and it's just desolate and empty and gray. You see fissures and like small rock eruptions here and there with some sort of jagged looking formations, but the only thing you see that looks at all like non-natural is that obelisk, but you make it through. And
I
now,
turn back. Not even the peninsula looked this desolate.
What did I tell you, Georgie? It's fine. There's nothing there. Let's just climb through.
and if
Could I help them from the other side?
exactly as I was going to say, you would give them a bonus
Amazing.
die, so you can roll the
Amazing.
same check. It's either climb or a hard dex, but you get a bonus die for it.
Amazing. Remind me how a bonus die works.
You roll an extra d10, so you basically have 2 10s dice that you can choose the better.
Okay. Hard dex means half of what I have.
Half
right?
of your dex, yeah, or a normal climb test.
So I'm gonna do a hard dex, and I'm gonna use an audience boost
Got
as
it.
well. So that makes me have to roll a 45.
Hey. Oh my gosh, you have the same climb or same dex? You both like guns or
Made
something
for each
too?
other. Yeah.
Wow,
That's a 33. Is that a
Hey.
it's a pass.
awesome?
Yeah,
Well,
pass.
I'm thinking of Haunted West.
Yeah, I know. I always think of Haunted West and Delta Green too, like doubles. But no, you do in fact get through without harming. You don't even tear into your clothes. You don't cut your arm. It is strange though, because like where those remaining slats are, when you see like the texture of your dress kind of rub up against it, it's like a hard spot. It's the most strange optical illusion, but it's as if that particular piece of cloth is just sort of hitting a brick, for lack of a better concept. Now, when both of you get down on the other side, you look back, the portal looks much bigger on this side. Why? Like it's like there's would be no harm at all to get through. Like you don't see the same sorts of blockages that you're seeing on the other side.
Huh.
As the captain helps Emma through, you see like he starts blushing a little bit, and then once he gets you on your feet, he just backs away. Apologies.
Oh, thank you for your help, Captain. Thank you. How?
of course.
Is your knee all right?
Well, I did just
Where
fall
did
on it
it-
now, but the knee is not what I injured in the peninsula.
Oh, what did you injure in the peninsula?
It was a dark time. I prefer not to speak of it.
Sorry, all I could think of is arrow to the knee.
Arrow to the knee. Yep.
But yeah, so I'm gonna wave to Georgie and
Okay.
wave her in.
I'll turn to help her too.
Same roll, Georgiana. It's either a regular climb or a hard dex.
Pass my hard dex.
Okay, you did pass. Okay, so
Mhm. I got a 6 and I needed a 50.
you get through
Oh,
without
wild!
any issues. The three of you on the other side, we'll say Miss Elizabeth is with you, and she's as curious, I would think, to come with you. So she'll do the same. I'll roll for her. Are you helping Miss Elizabeth, Captain Stone?
I would. Also, Georgiana, you would notice not as much blushing for you.
Oh,
Dear. Okay. That is a pass on the second one. I needed that bonus die. So she struggles a bit, very hesitant, but she hops down on the other side. She has a very, her face looks like wide-eyed and wondrous is what she's seeing around. And so the four of you have now gone through to the other side of this portal. We'll cut to, I'm presuming you all are going to sort of traverse towards the obelisk. Was that the plan, or was there something else, by the way?
The obelisk for Emma, or
Okay.
Georgiana at least, for sure.
Okay, so it's a few hundred yards
I'd like
away.
to start walking to the peninsula.
I know
Oh, sorry,
I know
Jeff.
where
Go
you
ahead.
should go for a walk.
Never
Go for a
to be
short
heard
walk.
from again.
Up along piers. That's what you should do. All right, so the three of you start walking. We'll cut.
Actually, I'm so sorry, Jeff. One of the things Emma would like to try to do is actually try to step out back into the corridor and see if there's like a back and forth possible?
Sure. Yeah. If you test that, it's very easy to go back through from this desolation side into the manor. But when that's easy enough to do, because it just, again, the portal just seems open and unobstructed on your side. But then coming back through from the manor side, you would again need Commander Stone or Captain Stone to give you a hand, which we don't need to re-roll it. Sure. It's fine. But you do notice you can go back and forth through it.
Right. Got it. So mostly so I'll say to everyone, like, should we let Miss Ratcliffe know where we are?
Oh, Elizabeth, maybe you would wait for Miss Radcliffe?
Oh, right. Yes, she went out back. Yes, someone should fetch her.
Why don't you do that and we'll take a look around here?
No,
she looks kind of pouty when she says that. She's like, that's exactly what she's about to say. Well, this is my home. Miss Georgiana, would you mind?
Yeah, I'll go.
Thank you. And she just kind of starts to wander a bit and looking around like, it's extraordinary. I wonder if Father knows about this. And she's just kind of looking.
Miss Northlake, please don't go too far. Let's stay together.
Oh, Captain, I'm fine. You can still see me. There's nothing here. It's completely empty.
Yes, but if you could please, for propriety's sake.
So if you're going to go back, so Georgiana, you leave to go back and get Jane. Mm-hmm. Emma and John, go ahead and roll spot hidden tests, and then we'll kick back after this.
John's still hanging out with two women.
Hey,
the drama.
That's a 28 over 25. I'm gonna spend 3 luck. Yeah.
Perfect. Okay, John.
I'll spend 25 luck, so it's a success.
Okay.
How much luck do you have?
Not that much
Not
anymore.
much anymore.
So both of you, as you're walking a bit, you're staying within relative sight of the portal, as you're waiting for Georgiana, but maybe you're doing like a small little cursory examination around. Both of you notice small, uncut gemstones on the ground here and there, like scattered or kind of buried underneath this gray stone. Red, green, clear, like kind of purplish, all sorts of different colors. They're very small here and there, but you're pretty sure you would probably want to appraise them, and which you're welcome to roll if you want. But these look like fairly high quality jewels, if small. If they were larger, they would be worth like a fortune.
I don't really know much about appraisal, but I would like to pocket a few of them just to have them appraised by someone else later.
I thought
I'm not stealing.
Jane was the thief. Okay. All right. We'll cut from there to the door of the Northlake Manor, which is now opening up, and we see a servant leading Mr. James Bennett in, and they announce Mr. James Bennett to the household. As Mr. James Bennett, you've arrived. You can see that Mrs. Lydia kind of arrives to greet you, which is, Mr. Bennett, what a pleasant surprise. We did not see you at church this morning.
Yes, pardon me. I was busy.
You were busy?
Why, yes.
Too busy for church?
As one is.
Well, if you're looking, is there something we can help you with?
Yeah, the others. I believe they're around.
The others?
I was invited by Jane Radcliffe. She was...
Oh, Jane. Yes, last I saw Miss Jane, she was tramping around out back in the snow. It's a very curious girl, that one. But she has been through such terrible tragedy recently that it's all we can do to keep an eye on her. And plus, Miss Elizabeth has grown so very fond of her, like an older sister that she never had.
Oh, right. I can leave myself there if you'd like.
Of course, yes. Go right ahead. I have some business to attend to. So you kind of start walking through. One of the servants kind of leads you to the servant corridor. Like they take you out back, and there you see Jane. You're trudging back at this point, having failed to find any real tracks, and there you see James Bennett kind of stepping loosely out of this like rough repatched servant door, and the two of you are together. What would you like to do?
Jane, I bring news.
What I have a little bit as well, but what did you find?
I've been looking into it, but this Northlake family, something hasn't sit right ever since I saw that brooch. Their family, how they got here, but listen closely. There's a curse every 100 years, and today marks that day.
Oh, what happens every 100 years?
The eldest child, they perish.
Well, there's just the one.
Yes, Elizabeth. Where is she?
I'm not entirely sure, but I was able to confirm that when this creature left here, it went over to the Cuthbertson farm. If I had a guess, everyone has been looking at that hallway again. We might want to look for them there.
Let us catch up with them.
And at this point, as you both turn around, you see Georgiana now kind of walking down the servants' corridor, and she sees the two of you standing there talking, while the servants nearby listen and gossip.
Am I interrupting?
No, not at all.
We were just discussing some interesting information that Mr. Bennett was able to locate. Where is everyone else?
It's better if I show you.
Well, shall we follow, Mr. Bennett?
Yes, please.
Okay. So the three of you go back to you see the same thing that we've described before. The opening is bigger. Jane, you can see it now. This is the first time you've seen it.
Oh my word. What is this?
Roll a sand test too, by the way.
I figured that was coming. Oh, and that's a fail. That is a 90 over 80.
Okay, 1 point. It's just 1 point of sanity losses. This is extraordinarily beguiling. You look out, and you can see in the distance, maybe 50 yards away, Captain Stone, Emma Wentworth, Miss Elizabeth. Like, they're all kind of wandering about. John Stone is reaching down. He's picking something up off the ground and putting it into his pockets. Emma has picked something off the ground, and she's sort of examining it. Something very small. It's kind of hard to see at this distance. But other than that, like there's these, it's almost like a dresser drawer size. Like you can crawl through, but it's not the easiest of things to do. There's no one on the other side currently, unless you call for them.
I don't understand. What? And Jane will kind of repeat the same thing and just poking her finger through and like.
It closes and cuts it off. No, you're.
Do we just step in?
I'll show you. And Georgiana just goes for it.
Yeah, I won't make you reroll it as you've already passed, but you are now on the other side. And if you want, you can lend aid to James and Jane who want to get through.
You said it was climb or
it's a normal climb or a hard dex. And with Georgiana's help, you can take a bonus die for this.
All right. Hard dex is slightly better because it's 25 instead of 20.
Think about me.
All right. It's a 36, so I will spend the 11.
And bonus die is like an extra D10?
It's an extra D10 that serves as a potential tens die. So like you can switch it out for the better.
I got a 23 then.
Okay.
Which is enough.
So the two of you get through without any too much difficulty. Jane's a little awkward at first, but you manage to get through and you catch up with the others. You can see that when Jane, you arrive, Miss Elizabeth comes over to you like, Jane, look at this place. Isn't it extraordinary? Barren, but this is within our house. It's within our house, Jane. This is extraordinary.
It is. Miss Elizabeth, has your family ever told stories of I don't quite know how to put this delicately, of tragedy befalling every 100 years or so?
No, what on earth are you on about, Jane? Why are you talking about this? Just look, and what is that thing in the distance? Look, right there. She points towards the obelisk.
That is quite impressive, but I would feel remiss if I didn't share. And she'll just sort of trail off looking at Mr. Bennett because it was sort of his information.
Yes. I filled them in about what I found. Just sort of heed my warning, Elizabeth.
Well, that sounds very, very tragic and terrible, of course. But Father has never mentioned anything about this, neither his mother. And it's probably just coincidence. Strange. It's wintertime. It gets very cold and sickly. I'm sure there's a perfectly good explanation.
We'll err with caution.
Yes. Captain Stone is here to protect us all. Isn't that right, Captain?
I'm looking at. Yes. What are we speaking about?
And James, as you look over towards him, you see him holding up, and he's got a gem in his hand. It's a small gem. It's not very big, but he's got a gem that he's looking at that he quickly puts in his pocket and then turns towards you.
Is that the only one, or is it this space sort of filled with the gems?
Roll a spot hidden.
66. There crit fails in this game?
No. Everyone keeps out of that. No, there's no crit fails for doubles. No. And there's crit fails, but it's like 90 or above or 96 or above, depending on what your target is. But no, not for doubles.
It's just a failure.
We've all been playing Haunted West lately, so it's in our minds.
I know. And then then we played like Delta Green for a year, so it's ingrained into our heads too. You look around, you don't see any more. No. And even Captain Stone and Emma, when you were looking, there weren't like a ton of them. You just found a few that happened to be like hidden in these cracks and stuff that you just happened to see because it was such a contrast to like the gray dullness of the rest of the earth. And so you do have a handful, but they're very small. Probably not worth too much to folks like yourselves. They're not worth too much.
I'm just bringing them back to be appraised by an expert, of course. I'll be handing them off to Sir Northlake when we return to the manor.
Oh, Father's very interested in gems. Apparently, my family used to be gem crafters or some such years ago. Father isn't, of course, but he does have that jewel that he has in his study in the library.
How long ago were they into the gem?
Oh, Jaina, I can't possibly remember that. I sort of tune out old auntie and mother whenever they kind of go off on their stories, but it is long before them. It's not really talked about. I don't think it's something that they're particularly proud of, for reasons I don't understand.
A jewel in the library, that seems like a strange place to store a gem.
Oh, well, Father says that it reminds him of where we came from, or something like that. He has all sorts of wonderful things in there. You've seen it, Jane, and you have. Like, there's tons of other things in there. He's got all sorts of like weird finds, stuff, archaeological finds, geological things. It's not just books and things, but there's a lot of various displays of very interesting conversational points for a man of his distinguished stature.
Is it not odd, Elizabeth, that your father would keep that stock in family history, but not tell you such a fascinating story that Mr. Bennett has just told us? Every 100 years, a Northlake heir dies?
It is a little alarming, sure, but I don't know how much my father knows, and he doesn't really talk about family too often. He talks about, his father and his mother, of course, but beyond that, no, not much at all.
Excellent point, Miss Wentworth.
And she starts to blush.
Georgiana, this whole time, has left the group once she came in. She's heading towards the obelisk.
Who's got can I get your luck scores really fast? Who's the lowest? Who thinks they have the lowest luck right now?
I have 8.
Mine's still pretty high.
Holy, I was worried with my 23.
Okay.
96.
Yeah, I have 85.
83.
This is so long. This is so long. The dude hoards all the freaking hope in One Ring and never spends it. And he's hoarding all the luck in Call of Cthulhu. I want a group luck test, so I'm going to take the lowest luck. So, Jane, could you roll a luck test, please?
Oh, wow.
Oh no.
Audience type?
No, it's luck.
Can she spend mine?
Yes, I agree. I was just gonna ask that.
Well, I mean, I rolled low, but not low enough. I rolled a 16.
Okay.
That's close, though.
All right. So, as you all are talking, you look up and you see that Georgiana is like 20 yards ahead on her way to the obelisk, and while the four of you are kind of, and Elizabeth are lingering and talking, and so she's up ahead and walking.
Of course she is.
The exasperated Captain Stone.
And she's got her nose in her book as she's kind of reading because it's a bit of a walk.
Miss Georgiana, perhaps we should stay together?
Georgiana, roll a climb or a dex test then as you're doing this. And because you said you're reading, I'll tell you what, add a penalty die to it.
Well, so what's a penalty die?
An extra D10.
Okay, just like the other. Got it.
Except that you take the worst. Climb or dex,
Jeff
whatever's better.
lit up when you said you were reading.
I did.
Fine.
I don't approve of people who read. As an
You gotta
English
add in
teacher, I can
spice.
tell. As a professor of English, I can tell you it's complete bollocks.
So for Dex, I rolled a 14, and then on my 10, I got a 2. So 24.
Okay, so it's a pass.
Yeah, because my Dex is 50.
You, as you're walking and you're reading, your foot suddenly gives out, and you stumble to the ground, and you see your book go scattering across the earth. As you see that your leg has fallen into a fissure, and if you would have taken one extra step, your whole body would have fallen into it. But fortunately, you're able to kind of catch yourself before you fall into it, and it is a good 20, maybe 30 yards deep, and you could have been falling down that thing. Your book, luckily, is nearby. You can pick it up, but you see all sorts of rocks and things begin to fall, and you hear the clink, clink as they land on the hard ground below. And as you're looking around, you notice that the earth, the walk, despite in some cases looking very flat, there's also these kind of like hidden seams and stuff that not being careful, not paying attention might lend some trouble. And there are other places too where it's not perfectly flat as well. So there's some climbing and kind of traversing over tops of rocks and stuff here and there. But you're okay.
Okay.
Or did she trip or fall?
Her leg just kind of, her leg like went into like the start of a seam down into a fissure.
Okay, so Emma kind of, Georgie, and kind of immediately just starts running.
Sure.
Just
I'd be moving to help as well.
Be careful. Be careful.
So you rush up, you catch her. Georgiana, you're getting up, kind of dusting yourself off, picking your book up. Emma's helping you get up. And all of you, once again, are there. You look up. You're still a couple hundred yards away from the obelisk. What do you want to do?
Georgie, you all right?
Yeah, I shouldn't have been reading.
And look down the fissure. To see anything?
It's just kind of dark. You might see a small, like, glimmer of a very tiny gem sticking out of the innards, the inner kind of lining of the fissure, but there's nothing down there.
How it's just like a crack in the earth, or is it like
It's just a crack in the
Okay.
earth, like a very deep
Okay.
crack in the earth.
Okay, so we can step over it fairly easily.
You can
It's
easily
like a
traverse it.
jumper.
Yeah. Oh, you
Okay.
can just go around without a whole lot of difficulty now that you see it.
Okay.
There's
Miss Georgiana, are you not surrounded by enough wonder that you must keep your nose in a book?
But don't you also enjoy the written word?
I find that presence of mind can be a valuable trait in dangerous situations.
Perhaps I was lulled into safety with your presence, but I suppose I should recognize that I should be more alert myself.
And I walk on ahead.
Okay.
So while all of this is happening, Jane noticed the captain having some jewels. And so she lagged in the back and is trying to also pocket some jewels.
So roll spot hidden to see if you can find
Okay.
some first.
This is something that I'm pretty good at. That's a 32 under 50.
Yes.
3250. Yeah, you do see a couple. Again, they're very small, but they would be very. I mean, for you, for Jane specifically, you could eat off one of these for like, a month or two. Like that's how much they're worth. But to the rest of these gentrified fools, it's hogwash. They use it to get the food from the teeth. Okay. So you're pushing forward, and eventually, you all make it to this obelisk. When you get there, you realize it is a single slab of carved rock. Very clearly, intentionally carved. It's not like naturally shorn. And it's got that same kind of dismal gray as all the other rocks and earth in the area. And I think it was... I'm not sure who would... I think Captain Stone was probably out in front at the very end there. You can see that there are hundreds of carvings on the stone as well, like weird kind of shapes. And kind of, again, this is all just sort of looking at it from a distance. The altar, excuse me, the obelisk itself, at the base of it, there is this black stone altar right at the foot of the obelisk as well. And you can see that there are, similar to the fact that there are carvings all over this obelisk, there are these runes that seem to be surrounding the edges of the altar. So that is what you see as you all are within, we'll say, 5-10 yards or so. What would you like to do?
Is any of it in a language that we can read?
Okay. So, when you say any of it, what do you mean?
Any of like the carvings or words or anything?
Okay. So are you which one would you be examining? The obelisk with its carvings, or the runes along the altar?
The obelisk.
Okay. So you step up, and you're looking for signs of language, and you're just kind of underneath it. It kind of towers over top of you, and you're looking and looking and looking for language, but you see instead that the carvings don't appear to be lettering, but maybe it's like hieroglyphics or something like that. But as you're examining it, you notice that the carvings appear to be hundreds of monsters, human beings with these sort of strange, horrific features, and all of them appear to be in some sort of terrible, terrible agony, both monster and human. Because all of them appear to be in the process of being consumed by various other larger, even more terrible monsters, gods, other creatures. You feel like this sort of stirring in your stomach, this sort of almost feels like a nausea, as some of these carvings are so intricately done. Roll a sand test.
I passed.
Okay.
The middle success.
Okay, take one. But it's unnerving, but otherwise it's not so much that like you've read plenty of
I was
books.
just reading Brothers Grimm.
No, this is demonstrably worse than that.
Okay, yeah.
But like you have the ability to sort of like, separate your imagination from like your immediate response, right? What are the rest of you doing as you see Georgiana kind of just like looking over?
And then you hear her as she's like, "Oh."
Let's keep it separate for now. Let's not do one after the other. So like, what was everyone else doing while Georgiana went up to examine the altar? Or excuse me, the obelisk.
Emma is leaning into Captain to say, Captain Stone, like, have you ever seen anything like this on the peninsula or in your travels?
I have seen a great many wonders. I've even seen a few obelisks of Egypt, but no, I've never seen anything like this.
That's what Emma's doing, and she is not bright enough to
Okay.
go and try to decipher the readings.
What about James or
Taking it
Jane?
in.
What are the two of you doing?
I'm curious about the opposites myself, so I'll head.
Okay. So you see the same thing. So you and Georgiana are kind of moving around this thing, looking at it. Go ahead and roll that sand test as well as you start. Like, it's just horrific what you're looking at. Like, just
Idiot failure.
it's like Kingdom Death Monster, dude. Like, it's just ugh.
Oh, good.
Okay, so for you, since you fail, you actually take 4 points. It's a D4 is on to fail. So how does this 4 points of sanity loss manifest for James Bennett? As Georgiana, you just, oh goodness, that type of reaction, like this momentary convulsion of shock. But James, it's you suffer a much worse reaction. What would it look like?
Yet, all of a sudden, it feels like impending doom. Like being in here is just, we're all gonna die, sort of feeling.
Okay.
It's just like murmuring to himself, and everyone else is like, "This is danger. We got to get out."
Okay. Georgiana, you would definitely hear that. You're right next to him. Emma, John, you're both in some semblance of conversation.
I would have liked to be walking the perimeter. If Emmett wanted to join me, she could have, but I would like to circle around and look at everything.
Okay.
I'm definitely joining you because I'm taking it all in, not going up close.
When you say
I do offer my arm for safety because the terrain is dangerous.
I will take it.
I'm sorry, my heart's fluttering. 1 second. When you say you're like kind of taking everything in, are you just sort of trying to get like a broad view of this site, or is there something else you're looking for?
No, that first one.
Okay.
Okay,
same question to you, John.
Tactical situation for me.
Okay.
This is very strange area. I think it's safe to say that we're not really in England. So I want to make sure that I have a good bearing of what I'm looking at.
Both of you can roll spot hiddens. And depending on how you do, I might provide you different things. And then while they're doing that, Jane, what are you doing?
That's a hard fail with an 85.
Same.
Jane's at the altar.
Okay. So Emma, yes, John, too. That's exactly right. So Emma and John, the two of you, maybe you're just distracted by each other. As you're looking over here and there. You see James and Georgiana, they're looking at the obelisk. You see Jane is examining the altar, and the two of you are just looking for any other signs of anything. But there's nothing. There's rocks and such around here and there. Eventually you can see the plateau stops, and there's like a cliff drop, and the two of you can see that there's this distant vista where this land just seems to go on for miles and miles as far as you can see, and it's just this gray, desolate, rocky emptiness as far as you can see.
Is there any celestial bodies in the sky, like stars, sun?
When you look up, all you see is this sort of vague, kind of foggy, cloudy gray covering, and you can't even see the sky above it. It's like a very, very overcast day, sort of.
Got it. Thank you. Sorry, Stephen. I didn't mean to.
No. I was just going to say that I'm more preoccupied in making sure that Emma's staying safe. So I'm watching her footing for her, making sure that she doesn't step in another fissure.
Oh, that's very kind of you, because I was totally whoa.
John, roll a luck test.
Oh shit, my luck's 23 now. I started at 83. That's a 92.
Okay, you stumble more than once, but you keep your footing. But you stumble more than once in the process of keeping an eye on her, and a couple times your foot but you manage to keep yourself upright, and you don't look foolish, but you feel pain as your ankle kind of turns, and in your mind that's gonna hurt later, that kind of thing. But you manage to suppress it, that sort of classic masculinity where we can't show pain.
He just gritting his teeth as hard as he can.
Exactly. Jane, you step up to the altar. You can see again there's these runes that seem to surround the edges, but you can see that they faded. This is extraordinarily old. Like, you don't have to be an archaeologist to tell that this has been here for ages. The fact that these runes have just essentially faded away in some cases to the point where you can't even read them anymore. Those that you can see, it's from a language you have no idea. You have no idea what it is. There is, however, one thing that you notice as you step up here, and that in addition to these kind of carved, faded runes, something else has been actually etched up here into the altar itself. And I will share that with you right now. I'm just going to show it to everybody, but this is just Jane that's looking at it. So you can see the image there, but if you go to the engraving text, you can see I've typed out what it says. And so etched into the actual stone, you see 4 lines, basically. You see JN 1413, WN 1513, BN 1613, and then you notice too there's one other that's very, very strange. It says no more AN 1713. Jane, also roll a spot hidden while you're up here.
Okay. Aiming for a 50. Got a 56. So
6 of that 8?
8 luck left.
What's the difference between 8 and 2? Let's be
Not
honest.
much.
Yes. You can spend it?
Not. Yes, I will.
Okay. You also notice that the altar appears to be stained. It's not just like that gray black, but you notice there are places where some kind of discoloration, this long faded kind of brownish red tinting that you would presume might be blood.
Mr. Bennett.
Yes, Miss Jane.
Look at these initials. Do these match the research that you found? The years and the deceased heirs?
Yes, they're the Northlake children. WN. It's William.
There's actually one thing that you notice that's different.
Isn't the 1713 the wrong name?
You go through it. You see 1413, Jacob Northlake. So you see JN 1413. 1513 was Walter Northlake. You see WN 1513. 1613 was Blanche Northlake. You see BN 1613. The last one says no more AN 1713. 1713, according to the records you found in the parish, was William Northlake, 6-month-old child. But it says AN. The only thing you recall is that William Northlake's father was Alistair Northlake. But he didn't die in 1713. He died in 1718, 5 years later, having suffered an accident, which you again would know is sort of society discretion for suicide.
I will bring the discrepancy up in what I found. Some of this doesn't line up.
I trying to wrap my head around this. So this family made their money from jewels. We find an entrance to this place that just has jewels. And on an altar are initials of their deceased family? What type of family is this?
How could you say something like that, Miss Jane? We're the type of family that took you in. You're part of this family now.
I am not a part of your family. I am a guest in your home. That is not this
How could
same.
you say something like that? She looks genuinely hurt.
This appear. This is an altar with dried blood on it, and initials of your relations.
My relations? From more than 100 years ago, Jane.
But they're children.
I know nothing of this. I've discovered this at the same time you have.
This does not seem like a place that we should stay. If what Martha says is true, there was a tall, dangerous-looking creature that came, and she just sort of, her face falls a little bit, that came out of here.
As you're saying that, Captain Stone, you are busy making sure Emma doesn't fall. You notice now, as you're looking around, as you kind of stop and you're listening to Jane talk, you're looking back the way you came, you see behind this outcropping between yourselves and the portal, you see two figures moving.
Jeff, I don't want to play anymore. Can I go home?
We were here for the romance.
Yeah, let's get back to the flirting and the ball.
I just said figures, It's probably Susanna Potterton and Ashton Slushington.
Yeah, no, that seems right.
It's clearly who it is.
I would try to investigate a bit more. Head towards them, try to identify them.
Okay. Do you do so proudly and are you making any care? Are you trying to do it stealthily?
What kind of figures are they? Like giant Sasquatch figures? Are they like
you failed your
small
spot hidden
figures in dresses?
You failed your spot hidden before, so you didn't get a good look at them. All you can see is that there was movement behind you. If you would like to move closer, I will give you another spot hidden. You can choose to do this quickly, or you can choose to do this stealthily. Like, what do you prefer?
Miss Emma, would you wait here just one moment?
Certainly. Let me go check.
And
on
I
George.
will, not necessarily stealthily, like it. I'm not trying to hide behind anything, but I am moving carefully, watching my steps, trying to get closer to them.
Okay.
Oh, hang on a second. Do I see these two figures as well?
You know what? You're with him. I don't see why you wouldn't either. Especially if you watch this, yeah.
So if Captain sort of, you're like, oh, what did you say? Like, why? So that you can go look into these figures yourself?
Yes, exactly.
I think it's better if I come with you.
Be careful.
Of course.
Of course. You say that with such confidence, I don't believe it.
Okay. The two of you head forward, separating from the other three who are still at the altar and at the obelisk. The two of you get much closer. You start moving around, keeping a berth between yourselves. And you see behind the rocks, as you're getting closer, the two figures start to stand. And at first, they look like they're just normal kind of human height. But then they grow much taller, to the point where they're like, 8 feet tall or so. But what's most curious about them, John, is that their heads are sort of flatly shaped, but they are covered in fur. But they have this kind of horrific looking face that is like part beak, part fangs to the mouth, these strange kind of angled eyes, this sort of triangular like head that seems pressed down into the torso itself. And they have these massive claws that look like themselves are these like lengthy razor sharped blades. They look, let's see, I think I have a picture for the players. They look like that. You guys see that?
Weird looking Furby.
Right? Kind of weird looking thing. Like, I think
It's a little odd.
they're a little odd. Like the heads on the face, like the faces on the chest, which is sort of strange.
Yep.
I'll drop these in the Discord too. So for those of you who are watching, you can go check the DOTK Discord. I'll drop them in the Lollygagger chat. That wasn't nearly scary enough music. Let me get some scary music on. Let's do summoning.
Oh, but the picture was.
Okay. The two of you see as these figures stand, and they tower over you. They're a handful of feet away. They kind of cock their head. Both of you roll sanity tests.
It's a 47 under something. 60.
I think I just passed my first roll of the night.
Amazing.
That's a really important
Yay.
one, too. Okay. So you see them in their full, wonderful glory. Both of you take a point of sanity, because even when you pass sometimes in Call of Cthulhu, you still can sometimes take sanity. In this case, you will both take one as these monsters now are standing between you and the portal. What do you two do?
Softly grabbing Emma's elbow and backing away.
Back towards the obelisk and the altar? Okay.
And the rest of the group, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Rest of the group. What are you doing? Georgiana and James, you've been looking at this obelisk. All you've seen is just this horrific depiction of humanoids and monsters being devoured by other monsters and gods. Jane, you've noticed the engravings, and you've shown them to everybody, including Miss Elizabeth, and you've seen the altar as well. What are you all doing?
I think it's best that we leave.
Okay. Jane?
Yeah.
Georgiana?
But they are blocking our path to leave, right?
We haven't
You don't know
seen
about them yet. You don't know
Yeah.
about them yet.
Oh, okay.
So Georgiana would just kind of be looking in the general vicinity to see if there's anything else weird other than just like the obelisk and altar.
I think you guys got everything. Let me double check really fast, but I think you did, in fact, get everything.
Did we? Okay.
Really wishing I would have brought my pistols to church this morning.
I was thinking about
Totally
that
did.
too. I'm like,
Same.
I have a gun, but do I have
Same.
my gun?
I don't know. Jane might, but John certainly wouldn't. No, you don't see anything more, Georgiana. There's nothing on the ground. And as you're looking around, you suddenly see like John and Emma starting to slowly back towards you.
Do I see what they're backing away from?
Yes. And as you do, you see these two figures that have slowly started to creep out from behind this rock outcropping, 8 feet tall, covered in furs and razor sharp claws. And I'll say at this point, all three of you can go ahead and roll a sanity test at seeing these things in their grandeur and glory.
Yeah. Good gracious.
I passed.
Failed.
That's, oh my, I passed.
Okay. Those of you who passed, take 1 point. James, you failed.
Oh no.
James, you have too kind of a heart, gentleman
Yeah, I
poet. Oh, James, take 6 points of sanity loss.
Jesus.
Ooh.
You know what that means, buddy?
What does that mean?
Bout of madness?
Temporary insanity. It occurs when you lose 5 or more sanity points at the result of one sanity roll.
No.
Make an intelligence test.
Does he start speaking in rhymed couplets?
We'll find out here in a sec. We'll see whether he. So I think he has to like do the. Yeah, he's got to do. It occurs when you lose 5 or more sanity points.
Pass my int test.
You passed it.
Yeah,
Okay.
I got a 41.
So what that means is that you recognize the significance of what's happening to you. You don't suppress it. Failing it is actually better. But you recognize the significance, and you are going to essentially be temporarily insane for 3 hours. And there's 2 phases to this. The first is a bout of madness, where you lose all self-control. And for a short time, I control your character, but I'll just tell you something. You can play it out. So the character and/or dictates the actions the character takes, but you can't lose any more sanity, etc. And this is going to last. It's only going to last 3 rounds, so it's 3 hours and 3 rounds. So effectively, I would say they are terrifying and horrific. I feel like you're just gonna like flee in a random direction away from them, which means away from the portal as well. So I feel like that's probably something. So you can flavor that however you want and tweak it to suit your needs.
Perfect.
Okay. Jane and Georgiana, you keep it together, but as you're looking at this thing up in horror, you just hear the footsteps, and you look over, and James is running away, poems fluttering in the wind in his wake as he does so. What did the rest of you do at this point? As Commander Stone, Emma, you've managed to back your way towards the obelisk. These things are as they're kind of slowly kind of creeping, they're almost starting to move off in different sides, kind of flanking, almost herding you towards the altar in some way.
Definitely just trying to get to the group.
You're there. You're with the group.
Oh, I would give an in to have my gun.
Drawing my sword.
Jane
Okay.
pulled out her gun, her pistol.
Yeah.
Jane does that. Oh, we're going to say Jane does have the pistol. Okay.
Would
Yeah. If
Emma have
that's
her
okay.
pistol?
I don't think
Because
she
you are a
would.
wild card.
I-
Okay.
I don't
Yeah.
think
You don't think so?
I don't think
Not to fucking
gentry
church,
ladies
man.
would be bringing it to
True.
church.
Yeah.
I could
yeah.
see Jane, because Jane's a con artist, she might have it like hidden up
Yeah.
her dress somewhere. That's
Oh,
fine.
God.
And only because like it was at
Yeah.
the house I was staying at. That
That's
I
fair
could, like,
too. You could have gone
go
and got
change
it
and
before
get
you went
stuff.
Oh, you
tracking.
did. She did change when she got back. So
Sure.
Yeah. So Jane totally can have. I don't think.
So I have the
does.
pistol out and I'm kind of like, get behind me or find something.
Okay, we're gonna do Dex. So let's do Dex. So combat is in Dex. We don't have to do combat, by the way, but like I'm just gonna put us in an order so that we have structure, and then you guys can tell me what you want to do. Don't feel as though you have to fight these things. Dex wise, Bennett, what do you have?
My
Just your Dex
Dex.
score, your flat Dex score.
50.
Okay. Jane, what do you have? Jane?
Same.
50? Okay. I'll put you above. Okay. What do you got there, Georgiana?
50 for Dex.
Same as well? Okay. What do you have there, Emma?
70.
Oh, my. And the Captain John Stone.
Also 70.
Okay. Wow.
All
You-
right, we
you
have the
two
same hard ass for it.
really are made for each other, it seems. All right. So these things, where do they go? Where do they have? 120? That can't be possibly right. Oh, they also have 70. Look at that. But I will let you guys go first because benevolent GM. Okay. So here's what we're going to say. We are in we're going to keep this somewhat structured for now. Doesn't have to be combat, but they haven't like fully bull rushed you, but they're closing in on you and they're spreading out and they're making all sorts of horrible sounds. They're brandishing their claws. You can see like 300 yards away is the portal to get out. You see James running in a completely perpendicular direction to it, like running away. What do Captain John Stone and Emma Wentworth do?
I would like to give my most heroic battle yell and try to intimidate them to scare them away.
Sure. That sounds funny. Let's do that. Let's do that. So, what would you like to roll for that, sir? You're trying to intimidate them? Okay. Okay. I would say this is going to have to be a hard success at minimum, and I will give them an opportunity to resist as well. So go ahead and roll.
Question.
Yeah, go for it, man.
Is 000 a 0 or 100 in this game?
That's 100. You just crit failed.
So that's a success.
That's a crit fail, buddy. So
I crit failed.
So how does this go so poorly for you, John?
I tripped on my way as I was yelling, and I'm holding up my saber, and I just like, and
you go stumbling to the ground. All right, Emma, what would you like to do as you see the just pathetic display from Captain Stone?
Heroic. I'm injured.
Heroically pathetic.
I'm going to use my turn to lift, to try and get the good captain to his knees and sort of like frantically yell to everyone, like, we can't fight these things. We have to get out. We have to get out, and try to rally everyone to agree to run.
Okay. Then we'll go to the monsters. We'll go next. I'm going to roll just a little test to see if they're gonna launch at you guys or not. I think one of them will. Okay. So this one's going to charge in at John, I think, actually. So one of them you see that's been... You kind of shout out it in some way, then you kind of stumble and fall, and then Emma kind of helps you up. And as the stumbling happens and Emma is shouting for help, that's when it kind of takes the opportunity to sort of charge in the direction at you. And it'll try to attack you. So combat is you have a choice. As I'm attacking you, you can either dodge or fight back against this thing. I'm gonna dodge. Okay. All right. So you would roll a dodge test versus its fighting test, and it's the higher degree of success. So tell me what you rolled.
I rolled a 40, which would be a success for my dodge.
Is it a regular success?
Regular success.
Do you have enough luck to go to a hard success? As I rolled a hard success with a 22 under 60.
It would cost me... it would put me literally at 0 luck.
If you want to do it, you can do it, which means you would dodge. With dodging, tie goes to the dodger, but with fighting back, tie goes to the attacker. So in this case, you're dodging, so you would not take a hit if you spent that. But you would take a hit if you do spend it. It's up to you.
I'll spend it.
Okay. So with the last reservoirs of luck, as you're stumbling, getting caught up in the saber, that stumble as you collapse into Emma, almost like she's holding you up, just happens to move just in time as this big claw comes raking down, missing poor John. And we'll see if the other one decides to go in as well. Yeah, it will. It's going to go after Jane or Georgiana. It's going to go after Georgiana. Okay. So, Georgiana, this thing comes at you.
Okay.
Roll a... so you can choose to either fight back or dodge. Do you have a preference? Fighting back is like you would be using essentially a fight skill, so like, brawling or fight or whatever. Like whatever you have for fighting.
They're equal for me.
So it's up to you. The difference is that if you the tie goes to the attacker for fight back. So if you both got the same level of success, it would
go
win.
To the monster. Okay.
But the other way around, it would be this one. Yeah.
And we have 6 boosts left for extra
I'll do
d10s.
Dodge.
Okay, let's go ahead and roll that dodge.
I've got luck. I'm okay. Jeff, I got a crit success.
Uh-huh.
Amazing.
Okay. Well, look at her moving the dice around. Look at her. She's moving the dice.
I'm getting my phone.
And then
Take a picture.
So you come up, and as this thing swipes down, you manage to dodge to the side, and it like rakes down the obelisk that like right behind you, as you could hear the as it comes down. Okay, we'll go over then to the 50s. So, James, we're gonna say the first round was taken before combat started. We're now on round 2. So this is your second round of no control running away. So you have one more round of this no control running away. Would you like to flavor how you're running away, though?
Flavor my running.
Are you screaming or doing anything as you run away?
I'll squeal my way away.
Such a wonderful gentleman poet. Jane and Georgiana, what would you like to do now?
Jane,
Go ahead.
Jane will shoot the one that is attacking Georgiana.
Okay. So go ahead and you can roll your attack. It will be with a penalty die because you're shooting into melee. If you fumble, you will hit Georgiana. So crit fail, basically. But the only person who does that is Steven.
Yeah, I'm gonna take one of these.
Yeah, I like it. I think it's really interesting how in one roll, Steven's lying about rolling a crit fail, and then the next roll, Ashley's lying about crit success. I'm teasing, kid. I'm teasing.
I was hoping for critical success. I didn't know if 000 was it or not.
You don't like to succeed.
That's true. I don't. It's more fun not to.
All right, Jane, go ahead and roll your shot. How do you do?
That is I rolled a 29 and a 39, both of which are under 40.
Okay, that will be a hit. So if that's the case, you can roll your damage. So what is the damage on your weapon? Should be on
1d6 plus 1.
Go ahead and roll it.
It's a 1, so that's 2 damage.
Okay, so you shoot it, and it grazes like the backside, and you hear, but it does actually hit him. Okay. So at this point, we've got. Okay, so Georgiana, you still get to go. I'm sorry, I totally forgot about you. Georgiana, what would you like to do?
I wanted to try and as it was coming towards me, or if it chases after me, try and get it to fall into one of the fissures.
Okay, so you want to try to lure it into a fissure? Oh, that sounds great. Okay. What are you thinking about maybe rolling for that?
I was thinking dex, so I don't also fall into the fissure.
I think more along the lines, you have to figure out a way to lure it.
Like lure it?
Yeah. Charm it.
What about dance?
Dance? You know what,
Yeah.
dude?
Or
I will.
some
No.
Dance off
Dance
to
is
it.
perfect. Please,
Okay.
do dance. That is brilliant. It's so good.
I got a 15 and I needed a 30, so I got half.
So as this thing lunges out at you and swipes, you kind of pirouette. It scrapes the obelisk. It lunges again, gets shot in the back by Jane. You manage to kind of dance your way through, and it's not so much like you're doing, this amazing ballroom
Fancy
dancing, but it's like
moves,
your the balance and your ability to sort of move deftly. What I'm gonna do is I'll say roll a luck test. If you succeed, it'll fall into one of these fissures.
It falls because my luck's 85, and
Okay.
I got a 19.
And so this thing falls into
Yes.
one of these fissures.
Yes.
So you have one that's out. It's not dead, but it's out of the combat for at least a while as it's stuck down and has to kind of climb its way back up. But it won't be completely dead.
And
Emma rolls her eyes and whispers to herself, "Oh, show off."
Okay. New round.
I was injured.
New round. One of these has fallen. You do hear the sound, the sounds of it alive and scraping below. The other one is amidst Emma and John, who are the first to go. So what would the two of you like to do with this thing right on you?
Slash at it with my sword.
Okay, go right ahead. I will choose to fight back.
That was what is it? Hard success. I got under half.
Yeah, I also got under half, but because I fought back, tie goes to the attacker. So your attack will go through. You still will do damage. So go ahead and roll your damage.
Dang.
Two damage.
Okay. You hack into this thing and you hit it squarely and perfectly right through its the center mass. Like you do the slash from shoulder down to hip. However, as you pull the blade away, you see no blood on it, and you realize like there's this hardened, thickened skin underneath the fur. They actually have armor, 2-point thick matted fur, and so it's just flat reduction. So you don't actually do any damage to it, but it looked good. It looked very impressive.
I rolled a 1 on the damage die. I felt good about the hard success at first, and then it was just
you got it through. Okay, Emma, what would you want to do? This thing's still up in your biz.
I, as begrudging as it is, Georgiana has an amazing idea. So she's gonna reach out and taunt it by like pulling its fur and then just running towards the fissure.
Wow, I love that. I mean, we could just do a straight dex, I think, for that.
Amazing.
The better you do, the better the result.
Fantastic. All right. Stupid smart Georgiana.
Don't want to dance?
That's amazing. That's a 12 under a 70.
Holy crap, that is a extreme success, because 14 was what you would need for extreme. You rolled 12. That's really good. I'm gonna say you tug on the fur. It's going to stumble after you. You all are on the same level, so what I think it'll try to do is it's gonna lunge at you and try to hit you. Whatever's going to happen, and it's going to fall one way or the other. It's just a question of whether it gets like a falling slash off on you as it does so. That'll be the only question. Now you can roll a dodge, or you can roll the fight back as it does so. But you're doing the classic standing right in front of this like crack in the ground, and it's coming at you, and you can either just dive out of the way and try to dive out of the way in time for it just to miss, or you can fight back. It's up to you.
So I can't quite remember the rules. They explained a success on fight, or no, I have to roll half dodge.
So you would basically either roll dodge or fight. So it's just so dodge. So I'm attacking you, and so you're choosing either to dodge or to fight back. Dodging, you would roll your dodge skill. Fight back, you would roll whatever fight skill best, whatever you have for fighting, whatever you might have. So probably brawl. You probably have fighting brawl.
Yeah.
And so then we compare the quality of success: regular success to hard success to extreme.
Got it.
Dodge.
All right, cool. So I'm gonna do dodge because I have a higher thing on that. And can I use an audience boost?
Absolutely.
For that?
Yeah, we've got 4 left.
Sweet. Okay. That's a 63 over. I added an audience boost, so that's a 45. I'll spend like 30 luck.
Go for it. Yeah, because I did roll a success, but just one. So just a regular success. So if you get up to a success, it swipes at you. You can see it cuts through some of your dress on the shoulder a bit, kind of leaving the top part of your arm somewhat bare. But then it falls down, and you can see, like, you have a very faint scratch, but it's not like bleeding. You can kind of see it as it's that close. And you guys realize you have momentarily distracted them enough to kind of get them out of the way. The portal is open. James has run off. James, at a certain point, like, you kind of come to you're looking around. You're like, you don't know where you're going. You look back and you see like the portal's that way. Like you're running the wrong way, and it kind of dawns on you that you've been running the wrong way.
Let's go.
Okay. Does everyone run?
Yeah.
Jane, Georgiana, make sure it's got a hold of Elizabeth and is dragging her out.
Sure. All of you run with those 3 things in the ground, with you all know to look for these like fissures and things like that. You make it back to the portal. Since you're coming back from the inside, the dark realm is what it's called. You push through, you make it into the corridor itself, and you are out of the dark realm. You look back and you can still see the obelisk. Everything's still there. The portal is still here. Nothing's been closed, but you are back in the home. Now, we are 3 hours in. I want to be respectful of people's time. We can stop here and try to find another night to do this, or if you want to keep going, we can. But it's been 3 hours, so I'm more than happy to stop and try to find another night. It's up to you.
I'm okay with another night.
Okay. Shall we try to do that?
Yeah.
Does that work for everybody?
Yeah.
I'll always make time for you.
We'll have to sort out when that night will be, obviously, but we'll figure it out. So
Yeah.
I think we'll end on we'll end on that because there
We
is
made it out of part of this.
there's still
Lives.
there's still some stuff to figure out, and then we have to do
Yeah.
all of the romance endings.
Yeah, we got to close the portal.
we,
So
we have to
I
pair
think I
off.
killed one of them. I got it with my sword pretty good.
so ridiculous. You're so ridiculous. Okay, so yeah, we'll find a time to do a part 3 of this sometime as soon as we can, where we can get everyone together. We'll figure it out, and we'll finish it as we're very, very close. But at the very least, you all are still alive, which it could have gone very, very badly because they
I
hurt.
did not anticipate that. Yeah, they look scary.
Yeah, that
They
was
hurt.
very surprising.
They're
Jane
not dead.
has lots of questions.
There,
We sealed this
We have
portal.
no
That's the
answers for you.
first thing.
yeah, there are
Yeah.
things to still learn. There are things to still learn. So we'll see how it goes.
Gotta go find that gem in the library.
Mhm,
Yes.
mhm,
Yes.
mhm. There's also, if you want to learn more about the history of the Northlakes, there's that Northlake Bible as well, which I'm sure Miss Elizabeth will mention to you, no problem. But we will save that for a different night. Why don't we go ahead and do some closing plugs and get on out of here? So let's see. My trade, where can we find you?
I'm Maitri, and I have played your definitely going through any and all portals. Play her, Emma. Thanks so much for having me, guys. That's so much fun. Thank
Absolute
you.
pleasure to have you there. You're so much fun to play with.
You guys are just a ball, and I'm committed to never leaving you alone.
Quite literally. A winter ball, and it's very
Winter
exquisite.
Oh, did Jeff make a pun? He never makes puns.
I used to, and then there was an oversaturation that was kind of happening for a while, and I'm sneaking back in.
Amazing. Well, I'm Mighty Games on Twitter, and I'm Mighty Plays Games on YouTube, and I make system agnostic or multi-system, whatever you want to call it, tabletop stuff. You want to check my stuff out?
Fantastic. Let's see. Then for us, let's see, what do we got going on? We got tomorrow One Ring, which I think is our last One Ring for 2022, as I think, because next week will be Christmas Eve, and we're not doing One Ring, and the week after is New Year's Eve, and so we're not doing One Ring then. So this will be our last One Ring until January. So that's tomorrow, usual time. Monday, we're doing Holler for Savage Worlds. You can catch Melissa in that game, and myself and a few other folks. That one will be giving away another set of dice. So if you didn't get the Foundry dice, or excuse me, the Norse Foundry dice tonight, come back on Monday. You have another chance to win some more. And then Tuesday, Steven, what are we doing?
Tuesday is another episode of The Good, the Mad, and the Unholy, our Haunted West game. Long will be there. Maitreya will be there. Jeff might show up. I hope not. It's our second to last session. No, Jeff has to show up because otherwise we won't be able to stream. He is our producer. Second to last session, though, we're wrapping up the arc by the end of the year. On the 27th, make sure you tune in because we will be giving away a core book for Haunted West. Thank you, Mr. Chris Spivey.
Absolutely.
So yeah, that thing's giant. So definitely tune in for a chance to win that.
Fantastic. So many giveaways. So great. And then next Friday, I don't know what we're doing. We'll figure it out. So, but that's it. Yeah. Thanks for everyone who hung out tonight. Thanks for
That's an idea for romance.
Yeah, congratulations to Arborlin and to Metahorse 25. Thank you for participating in the giveaway. Thank you to Norse Foundry, Eric. Appreciate it, man. So very kind of you all to help out.
Thank you.
We're going to go ahead and raid our good friends over at the Defenders of Cobalt who are playing some Mouse Ritter, which is a really awesome game based on I think it's based on the Into the Odd system, which is one of our favorites here. So follow the raid, say hi to them, ask Chuck about his feet, something like that. And we'll catch you all next time. Bye-bye.